75-year-old retired dental technician Leroy Gaines is suing his son and daughter-in-law, John and Cassandra Gaines. Leroy claims after opening 4 CDs on behalf of his grandchildren, John and Cassandra emptied the accounts.
Order. All rise.
Now, this is case number 218 on the calendar in the matter of Gaines. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Gaines, the defendant is your son,
Yes,
and the co-defendant is your daughter-in-law.
right.
And they have 4 children.
Yes, they do.
Your 4 grandchildren.
Right.
According to your complaint, sir, in 1999, because you're a good grandpa, you decided to gift each of your grandchildren $500 and took out certificates of deposit in each of their names for their future.
Right.
And you had a conversation with your daughter-in-law about that?
Yes, I did.
And what did you tell your daughter-in-law?
I told my daughter-in-law that I was going to take out 4 CDs for each one of the grandchildren, and that I wanted to left in the bank, and when each one of them was 18 years old, they could do as they pleased with the money. And I told her that I was going to turn the CDs over to her so that she could reinvest them once every year when they matured. I never gave any permission.
Okay, just a second. So that's what you told her?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when you originally opened these CDs, you were the custodian, sir?
Yes, I was.
There came a time when you changed that from you being the custodian to you being a co-custodian?
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
did you
I did not turn custodianship over to anybody.
Do you have the paperwork from the bank?
I have 2. The other 2, I guess I throw them away.
Okay, but let me see what you have. Your lawsuit, Mr. Gaines, against the defendants, in particular your daughter-in-law, is that she withdrew the CDs for 3 of the children.
Yes.
And the 2 of them used that money.
Yes,
And you want that money back.
I do.
They have a counterclaim because they say that at some point, I assume after they withdrew the 3 of the CDs, you went and withdrew the money out of the one remaining one that they had not used. So their counterclaim is based on the fact that as parents of that one child, you took back that child's gift. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you do not deny that you took out the CDs for 3 of your children.
Not at all.
I'd like to see where you are custodians of the accounts of those 3 children.
Okay, when I went to the bank to sign a signature card, I didn't receive anything in the mail. The manager of the bank said that I had to subpoena the record. She was not cooperative at all.
Okay. So you don't have any proof that you were made the co-custodian, even though, Mr. Gaines, you say that you agreed for her to be the co-custodian.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, at various points, you went to the bank and withdrew this money. Did you withdraw it all at the same time or at different times?
At different times, Your
Over
Honor.
what period of time?
Over a period of approximately 3 weeks.
All right, let's hear about the first withdrawal.
The first withdrawal, Your Honor, was on May 18th.
And what did you use that money for?
Your Honor, my husband owns his own business. He's self-employed. I am a full-time mother. His business gets slow at times. He's a carpenter. And in the month of May, we fell on hard times and had a car payment due in the amount of $307.10. I need a vehicle for emergencies to drive my children around in. The remainder of the money went. Every Saturday is considered a family day for us. And we
By
take
who? Is that by federal law?
No, that's by our own morals.
So that's by your own morals that every
Right.
Saturday is family day. Okay,
Correct.
so tell me where the rest of the money went.
It went on an amusement park for our children the following Saturday.
Okay, so that's one. Let's
Correct.
go to the next withdrawal that you made.
That was the following week, May 26th, which was on a Friday. Now, in order for my husband to run his business, he has to advertise, and he had run up a bill for his advertisement for his job amounting over $200.
So?
That went on that. And then the remainder went on Chuck E. Cheese for our children and horse rides at Irvine Regional Park.
Okay, next.
The third and final CD was cashed in on June 5th.
Yes.
Now, our rent was due June 1st. However, there's a 5-day grace period. You have until the 5th. Otherwise, it's considered late. You have to pay a $50 late charge. The rent amounts $910. I had to cash in a CD to pay the rent.
Okay. Mr. Gaines, how long have you been a carpenter?
About 13 years.
So for the past 13 years, what have you done when business is slow?
Well, usually a couple months before we try and save up so that we can prepare for the times where it's going to be slow, so that we have some savings.
Good. Now, you were both fully aware of the fact that this money was to be used for your children.
Yes.
That this was, in fact, your children's money.
Yes.
So how dare you use this money to buy them Chuck E. Cheese, take them to an amusement park, make your car payment, or pay your rent? How dare you? You managed for 13 years not to steal your children's money. Maybe they didn't have any money.
May I say something now?
Sure.
In that amount of time, we have had help from family members. Mr. Gaines's wife is retired and lives with my husband's sister. She has a pension, and she helps us out when need be, out of the goodness of her heart.
Why don't you help yourselves out? Get a job. Get a job. You have 4 children and you can't make it on your husband's salary as a carpenter. Get a job. You don't steal money from your children.
No, I have every intention on paying my children back. I feel that I do not owe the plaintiff any money. I owe
yes,
my
you
children.
do. He's the custodian of the...
He gave these to them as a gift.
Just a second. Oh, you're absolutely right. He gave this money to your children as a gift for their future. That was made clear to you. Clear to you. And the custodian of those accounts is responsible to see to it that that money is used exclusively for the benefit of the children.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Chuck E. Cheese and pony rides do not constitute an emergency. You are responsible for the Chuck E. Cheese in your children's lives.
And later today...
I just spent $6,000 on the trip.
Not on her.
Yes, on her.
Oh, you're so full of baloney.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Leroy Gaines says his son John Gaines and daughter-in-law Cassandra stole money he had gifted to his grandchildren.
If you want to invade that money because of an emergency, then you have to go to surrogate's court and say, I must, let's say it's not $500, let's say it's $500,000. And the child has a medical emergency, and you have no funds to cover the medical emergency. In all probability, a judge would say you may invade the children's money to pay for that emergency. Chuck E. Cheese and pony rides do not constitute an emergency. You are responsible for the Chuck E. Cheese in your children's lives. Your children are not responsible to feed themselves, you are. Your children are not responsible to house themselves, you are. And your children are not responsible for their own amusement. If you wish to amuse yourself on Saturdays, then you pay for the amusement. Otherwise, you don't take $200 to go to an amusement park out of money that's supposed to be for your children's future. That's outrageous.
Okay, so we owe the money to our kids, not to him.
Oh, yes, you do. He's the custodian.
May I also say...
Can I show you this?
He's the custodian.
No, he turned over everything to us.
Oh,
okay?
let me see it.
Otherwise, how would she have been able to withdraw the money?
Let me see. Let me see. This is a will.
Your Honor,
what are you showing me?
Let me say something.
This is a will when he dies.
Right, Your Honor, but he has been preparing for this a long time. And he told us that's why he made me custodian of these accounts.
Show me. Hey,
they told me I needed to subpoena the records, Your Honor.
Pay careful attention to me. What I have here is the plaintiff as custodian. What I have in your answer is that you were co-custodian.
Correct.
He's a custodian, you're a custodian, right? He's going to take the money that you stole from your children, and I assume you will put it back in a CD in your name as sole custodian.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what you intend to do?
That's exactly what I want to do.
Okay. So you have no objection to my taking the names of the 3 children whose accounts they closed?
Yes, ma'am.
What are their names?
Alexandria, Audrey, and Alisa.
He's saying the oldest daughter's name wrong, and it's spelt wrong also.
Alexandria.
No I.
There's no I. It's Alexandra.
Alexandra. Oh, so you think you should be penalized for that? You got some attitude for somebody who took their kids' money for Chuck E. Cheese.
I was 12 years old.
Listen to me.
Where was he?
I don't
He
care.
has 9 kids.
Mr. Gaines, Mr. Gaines, you and your wife have a problem.
Yeah, we do. He's right here.
No. I want to tell you something. If you think that he's your problem, then what you should have said to him was, when he said, I'm going to open these accounts for the children, do me a favor. I don't want you to open any accounts for the children. I don't want to have anything to do with you.
And we didn't until he became sober in 1998.
Hey, just a second. So if he became sober, according to you, in 1998, and in 1999, when he put his life together again, he wanted to start to do the right thing, make amends for some of the transgressions that he's had in his life,
You
whatever.
can never do that.
Hey, you stole money from your children. You're outrageous.
He never paid
now
a
let's
dime
take
of
care
child support.
You stole money from your children.
And we'll give it back to him.
You stole money from your children.
No.
Yes, you did.
No, we didn't.
You said to yourself, I got $2,000 that I can play around with, and I don't have to sweat.
It wasn't $2,000, Your Honor.
2,000.
Just a minute. You had, hey, Missy attitude. You had $2,000, $500 for each of your children. The only reason that you're annoyed is that he got to the other $500 before you did. You had $2,000. That's what you had to start with.
I'm annoyed because he's family and he's bringing us to court. And I had a phone conversation with him on the phone, and he did nothing but disrespect me and degrade me and call me foul names.
You had a nerve taking this money from your children. You don't seem to get it.
Well, then what does he have to do with it? We took the money from our kids. It was a gift from him.
Not to you. It was a gift to your children.
To our kids, not his kids.
I will tell you something. If you were my son, maybe I wouldn't see you either. Judgment for the plaintiff on his claim, counterclaim for the $500 that he took back and that he's going to put back into the account is dismissed. Folks are outrageous.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I met him when I was 12 years old for the first
He's
time in my
not
life.
as good as a grandfather as he portrayed himself or the judge portrayed him.
The first time I met him, he was, falling down drunk.
He stole money from the kids, and he had to pay it back.
And now the next case.
All parties on Messick versus Platts. Step forward, please.
Teenager Crystal Messick and her mother, 44-year-old sales rep Angie Messick, are suing 34-year-old loan officer Jama Platts for unpaid babysitting fees. Jama says she paid Crystal with a trip to Disneyland.
Tell me your name.
Vinny.
Vinny, would you go with Officer Byrd, please? He's going to take you outside. According to your complaint, you babysat for the defendant. She didn't pay you. You babysat for her for a whole summer. The defense by Miss Platts is that she took you on a nice trip. When did you begin working for her?
It was right after my school got out, like the middle of June.
And what was she supposed to pay you? By the hour, by the day?
At the beginning of the summer, she told me $500 for the whole entire summer.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Did she pay you at all?
No.
Did you have a conversation with her about payment?
I asked her several times, and there was always a different excuse.
Like what?
I'm not sure what this whole house deal was, but it was we had to wait for the house to go through, and then it never went through, I guess.
But it's clear that your arrangement with her was that you were going to be paid $500 for the entire summer.
Yeah.
Then why are you suing her for $2,772?
Because when that was the agreement, I didn't know that I would be spending my whole entire summer there. I was staying at her house for like weeks at a time. I cooked and I cleaned. Cleaning was never in the agreement with $500.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Teenager Crystal Messick says during an entire summer, she babysat for Jama Platts. Crystal is suing Jama for not paying her.
But you never changed the arrangement with her, Crystal, about the $500. Is that right?
That's right.
You just continued to go there. And you never said to her, well, this wasn't part of the arrangement.
No.
So really what we're talking about here is $500, because that was your agreement, right? Just curious, how many days a week did you babysit for her?
And at the beginning, it was just like on weekends and during the day. But then in July, I was babysitting every day, every night.
Every day and night?
Yes.
Why didn't you pay her?
I was at that time in the foreclosure business. I had not been paid. I was going through a divorce. Crystal told me she would rather stay with me than with her mother because she was not getting along with her mother.
So?
And let her stay with me.
Well, you let her stay with you, but she took care of your child.
Absolutely.
And you had a contract, a verbal contract with her to pay her $500 for the summer.
And
she did, in fact, babysit for you in July and August every day?
Correct.
You went to business?
Yes.
How much do you think it would have cost you a week to have somebody take care of your child?
$80 probably.
A week?
In Denver, Colorado, yeah.
$80 for an entire week? Is that what you're telling me? 7 days?
To the day, well, Monday through Friday.
And what about on the weekends, in the evening? Did you ever go out?
Yes, I would have paid more than that.
Of course you would have paid
Yes.
more than that, $80 a week. So say, minimally, you would have paid somebody $100 a week.
Correct.
From mid-June until, when did you stop working?
The very end of August.
Our trip was August 28th.
Okay, so you're talking about 10 weeks. So minimally, you would have paid somebody else at least double just for babysitting, right?
Yes.
So why didn't you pay her $500?
I took her on a trip to Disneyland.
Well, let me hear about that. That's nice of you.
We went to Disneyland. I had an agreement that with the law settlement that I was supposed to be getting, I got paid a $9,000 check. I took $3,000 of that. I was supposed to be getting paid $120,000 on a foreclosed property.
Yeah.
The settlement did not go through.
So you, go ahead.
So I took her to Disneyland
No,
with
go
my
ahead.
son
So you,
and I
just a second. So at the end of the summer, you got your check. Why didn't
for
you take
$9,000.
Why didn't you take $500 and give her?
I asked her if she would rather have that. She said she wanted to go to Disneyland.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Tell me about the conversation.
We were at the kitchen table at my house. I said, do you want to go to Disneyland? I would like to take you and my son to Disneyland as part of payment for being with my son all summer. When the rest of the settlement comes through, I will also pay you the money. The rest of the settlement has never come through. I took her and my son to Disneyland, and we spent 5 days in San Diego, SeaWorld, Disneyland. She agreed that it was verbally on the airplane that that was payment enough. I didn't owe her any more money.
Well, tell me about the conversation that you had with her on the airplane.
I said to her, is this payment enough for what you've done for me this summer?
Why would you ask her such a question, Miss Platts? Why would you place a 14-year-old, and you're an adult, in a position of having a 14-year-old say to you after you've taken her on a trip, is this payment enough? I treated you very well. You expect a 14-year-old, even if you asked her that question, to say to you, no, it's not enough. I expect you to pay me what you owe me, $500. You expect a 14-year-old to be able to stand up to an adult?
I did say that to her.
What did you say to her?
I said to her, if my settlement comes through, I will pay you the $500.
I don't care what you said to her. You're an adult. You're in a position of control. Why would you say to a 14-year-old and expect an honest answer? Is it enough that I took you on this trip?
Because I had just spent $6,000 on the trip.
Not on her.
Yes, on her. Her, my son, and I.
And just a second, I read your answer. She didn't ask you to hire a limousine to take you to and from places, did she?
No, but she was...
She didn't ask you to make the trip a day in advance so that you paid premium price for the plane, right?
Actually, she did.
She asked you to make the arrangement?
She wanted to go immediately on the trip.
Oh, you're so full of baloney. You are so full of baloney.
Okay.
I think your conduct is outrageous.
Okay.
Because not only did you have a 14-year-old who was acting as babysitter, but according to her, and I believe her, she also cleaned up around your house.
Mm-hmm.
So for 10 weeks, she not only took care of your 6-year-old, acted as a babysitter, she also cleaned your house. You did some cooking?
Yeah, I cooked for him, for the son.
And ate my food.
So what? That's what you do when somebody's there. What you expect her to do, bring her own food?
No.
Your conduct is outrageous, Miss Platts. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused and they step out. Your Honor, this is case number 135 on the calendar in the matter of Olivencia versus Henry. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Olivencia, it is your claim that the defendant, who you hardly knew if you knew at all, on 2 separate occasions assaulted you and attacked your car. For some reason you are only suing for the attack on your car. The defendant says it was you who assaulted her and her car, but you have no counterclaim. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, where did this happen? The first time?
First time it happened on May 11th at the Worcester County jail.
At a jail. What were you doing there?
I went to go drop off my friend Janika at 6 o'clock, and I went to pick her up at 8.
What was she doing there?
She went to go see her boyfriend.
Had you ever seen the defendant before May 11th?
I've seen her like 2 times.
Did you ever speak to her?
Never.
Okay. So did this initial assault occur on the way going to the jail or when you went to pick up your friend?
When I went to go pick her up.
Who was with you?
My cousin Maria was with me and her daughter.
And now you can tell me what happened.
Okay, I was sitting in the car waiting for her, for Janika to come out. Stephanie Henry then comes out of the jail and approached me, started yelling, cursing at me. Anyways, I noticed she was getting hostile, so I turned on my car, and I was going to turn around to go, and that's when she pulled my hair, started slapping me.
How did she pull your hair?
How did she pull my hair? From this side. She approached me. I was in my car.
And the window was open?
The window was open, yep.
So she came and she pulled your hair. What else?
I was sitting in the car, she pulled my hair, and I tried to get her away from me. My cousin was screaming. The correctional officers came outside. They ran outside. They tried to separate us. At that point,
How did they try to separate you? Were you still in the car?
I was still in the car, yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, they tried to separate her because she was holding on to me. So then she runs to the car and kicks my headlight and breaks it. And they witnessed that. They banned us from being there ever again. And we just went home.
You have a report from them?
I have a report from the Worcester Police Department.
May I see it? What's this blackened out part?
Well, because they don't let me see what, where she lives, or the police station did that.
This says that you talked about a group of males that surrounded your minivan.
That was afterwards.
Was that at a different location?
Different location.
Okay. Because I know there were 2 incidents. All right, so after she was separated from your car and she kicked your headlight in, did she leave or did you leave?
I left.
And your friend, did you wait for your friend?
She never came out.
All right, Miss Henry, you want to tell me about this incident?
Yes, Your Honor. I was coming out of the administration building like everybody has to do. You leave out of the administration building. I was standing there holding my 1-year-old son in my left hand, okay? I was waiting for my son's godfather to come pick me up. I was standing there. A woman walked by me. I did not have any cigarettes on me at the moment, so a woman handed me a cigarette. I was smoking a cigarette with my right hand and had my son in the left.
That's nice.
I noticed Miss Olivencia walk in the building. I noticed they came out and went into the car with another girl and a young child. Then I noticed she came out of the car and went back into the building. I don't know, I assume it was to look for Miss Cruz, but she went back in the building, she came back out, she got in the car. She proceeded to drive away. Okay, at this moment, I'm standing there smoking a cigarette, holding my son. I flick the ash on my cigarette. She reverses, does a 3-point turn, comes back, and says, "Excuse me, what was that?" A curse word. And I said, "Excuse me, I don't know you, and I have never met you before, and if I had something to say to you, I would address you and let you know. Therefore, I'm holding my son, drive away and have a nice day." I spoke to her nicely the first time. She started cursing at me, calling me these rude names, talking about she knows who I am, she knows where I live. I'm like, well, I have no idea who you are. I've never seen you before in my life. She then steps out of her automobile, comes over to me, approaches me with my child in my left hand, I remind you, and she's pointing in my face, and I'm like, you need to get in your car and drive away because I don't know you and I'm holding my son. And I don't play around like that with a baby in my hands. She kept cursing. She proceeded to get back in her automobile. As she was doing so, she grabbed my hair. I have a scratch right here. Unfortunately, Your Honor, I was unable to have my pictures developed to bring them here. For my evidence, I had a bruise on my knee, on my right knee, from the fact that when she had grabbed me by my hair and pulled me towards the car, my knee was hitting her door because she was pulling me. And of course, I'm going to defend myself with my child in my hands. And I'm going to try to get away because at this point, I didn't know if she was going to try to drive off while I'm holding my son. Okay? No correctional officers came out and broke anything up. She drove off after she had let go of my hair. And she went to turn again, and as she turned again, because you can't go to a certain point in a restricted area, you have to turn back and go out of the parking lot. She turned again, she came at me to try to hit me with my child. So I'm defending myself, moving out of the way, and as I move out of the way, my foot kicked her blinker, the tail light. I have a report from the Worcester County House of Correction saying that she did not care about the blinker, she didn't want to press any charges at that time, and that was the end of that. And I remind you, Your Honor, she was saying that she knew where I lived and that she would be there. Okay?
Ms. Olivencia, you indicated to me that your friend here, who you had dropped off in the morning, did not come out. That's what you just indicated to me, correct?
I dropped her off in the evening, 6 o'clock.
Or in the evening, and then
Yeah.
went back to pick her up, and you said she...
And she did not come out. Yep.
Well, this report indicates that the one involved party was leaving in a gray Toyota, and the other party was standing in front of the administration building. I assume that was you.
Yes, ma'am.
Stop the gray Toyota. Is your car gray?
My car is like a tan.
What's your license plate number? That's the tag number. Bearing Massachusetts tags. And identify the operator as Rebecca Olivencia, that's you. A passenger in the vehicle was identified as Janika Cruz.
That is wrong, because my cousin was with me. And they took my cousin's ID. And they also know that Janika, yes, she did go
Just a
at
second.
6 o'clock.
Just a second. That's what the detective wrote, that the passenger in the car was identified as Janika Cruz. Step up here. Then he goes on to give me a whole story here about something about a boyfriend. Who were you there to visit?
I was visiting my boyfriend, my daughter's father.
What's his name?
Victor.
Do you know Victor?
He's a neighbor of mine.
Anything other than a neighbor?
No, well, he was. He can't remain in that building either.
Is he ever a boyfriend of yours?
No, Miss...
Was he ever a boyfriend?
No,
of
ma'am,
yours?
no, ma'am.
Did you ever go out with him?
No, ma'am.
But you know him?
Yep.
So the connection between the two of you is through her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Stephanie shows up in a car full of guys who tell me to get out. They look like they wanted to fight me. So then one of them puts on a bandana around his face. And then he started like putting his hand in his pocket like if he had something, like a gun or something.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rebecca Olivencia says her car was damaged during a fight with Stephanie Henry. Stephanie says she kicked the car because Rebecca wouldn't let go of her hair.
You knew her from this person who was never your boyfriend, who you
No,
never
we know
dated.
each other from her boyfriend, which is now my ex-boyfriend.
Oh, well, so we have somebody else.
Which is her boyfriend or her fiance.
Who used to be your boyfriend?
Used to be my boyfriend about going on 3 years ago.
And did you like each other before this happened?
We didn't know each other. We met each other one time, and then from there we just couldn't get along. We fought when I was 6 months pregnant.
Who fought?
Me and Stephanie. From there, we didn't get along, whatever.
Did you know about this fight that they had?
I had no idea about it.
How long have you known her?
I've known her for a couple of years now.
How long as a couple?
About 2-3 years.
And when was this fight while you were pregnant?
1999. No, year 2000. I was 6 months.
Before this incident happened in May?
Yeah.
Yes. So if you were friends, you mean she didn't tell you that she was assaulted?
No, because we're not always together. We're not
She didn't
best
tell you
friends.
that she was assaulted?
No. I never knew about it.
That's unusual. This also says, Miss Olivencia, that you told the detective there that you did not wish to pursue the matter any further and did not care about the broken headlight.
That is not true. I never even spoke to that detective, as a matter of fact.
Olivencia states that she was attacked first by Henry, that's you, and didn't know who Henry was. She said that they just pulled each other's hair and exchanged words. Well, that's true. So there were a lot of things, according to you, that are wrong in here. Okay, now let's hear about the second assault.
Okay, the second assault happened after Janika asked me to go bring her to pick up her daughter.
Give me the date.
That was the same day. That was probably a half an hour later.
Okay.
I had told Janika, well, I don't know if I should go over there, but seeing that she's my friend and I was doing her a favor. To Piedmont Street, which is where she lives and which is where her daughter was at the grandmother's house.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I get there, Janika steps out of the car, and then she shows up, Stephanie shows up in a car full of guys, like 4 guys. They all jump out of the car. They start cursing at me to get out of the car. I lock my doors. I roll my windows up. I told Janika, get in the car because these people are getting crazy. Anyways, the guys are yelling at me, telling me to get out. It looked like they wanted to fight me. So then one of them puts on a bandana around his face. And the only thing showing was his eyes. And then he started like putting his hand in his pocket, like if he had some, like a gun or something. Anyways, my cousin started going nuts. She started screaming. She was making me nervous. I told Janika, get in the car. Janika wouldn't get in the car. She was trying to talk to them. And I just took off. When I was taking off, she ran to my car and she kicked the side of my door. And I drove right to the police station and I told them about it, and that's when I seen the damages that she did to the door.
I'll hear you. Okay, Your Honor. Can I continue with the ending? Okay. Like I said, after she let go of my hand, she tried to hit me with my child. And she turned around and tried to go.
You told me that. You told me that you were protecting yourself and you kicked it in her taillight.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, go ahead.
And as she was driving off, like I said, her friend, the passenger, her cousin, she claims, threw a large amount of hair out the window and said, "Here's your hair, B," call me the B word, and drove off, okay? Then after that, one CO came over to me. He asked me for my identification, to look for warrants, to check our records and everything, and then they had pulled her over and they were speaking with her down the street, okay? My son's godfather had came and picked me up with his friend, okay? And they brought me home, and by the time I got to my apartment building on Piedmont Street, Miss Cruz, Miss Olivencia, her cousin, and some black, I don't know who the black female was surrounded my neighbor, who is a friend of mine who also was going to be a witness, appeared here. They surrounded her with her 7-year-old son behind her.
Why, you saw this?
No, as we pulled up, we seen them, yes, and they all scrambled in the car.
You just want to tell me what you saw.
As we pulled up, we seen all 4 of the girls surrounded my friend, my neighbor, with her son with her, and as we pulled up, my son's godfather jumped out of the car and he said, "Who tried to attack Stephanie holding her son?" And I told him it was the driver, and he said, "Get out of the car. Why did you try to attack her holding the child?" We wanted to call the police and hold her there because she was at my place of residence, and Miss Cruz does not belong there either. I have no trespassing on her.
So according to you, somebody, one of your friends, went up to her and told her that she had no business being around your neighborhood.
Exactly.
Your block. And then what happened?
And there were 2 other neighbors that had came up from the neighborhood. There were 2 other neighbors that came up from the neighborhood. And Miss Olivencia was cursing at one of them, calling him stupid, and saying things to the person. And he got very upset.
And where was she sitting or standing when
she was in her car with her window down a little.
Okay.
And she was telling him, "Shut up," he was stupid, cursing at him. And he was the one that damaged her car. I don't know who, he's a neighbor, he lives in the neighborhood. I don't know his last name. I spoke with Janika Cruz about this. She said she didn't want any involvement in this. I said, well, I don't know who they were, because she said that Mrs. Olivencia wanted it for her insurance company. And I said, well, I don't know who those 2 men were, because they were from the neighborhood. They were trying to help my witness, my other witness that was there, the girl that they surrounded that they tried to jump. They came out and they tried to stop them from jumping her.
Okay, she wasn't jumping anybody. She was in her car with the window rolled
Before
up.
she got into the car, Your Honor?
But then she was in the car.
Yes, but
then she, just listen to me. But then she was in the car. When she's in her car, she's not surrounding anybody.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Whatever you did to each other in that parking lot, or whether you started to pull her hair, you went to her house, and that was stupid.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rebecca Olivencia claims Stephanie Henry kicked her car during a fight outside of a men's prison.
You say you have a restraining order against her? Let me see it. So, Miss Cruz, there is a no trespass order against you for this housing complex.
Yes, there is.
So what were you doing there on May 11th?
She did that. I got that trespassing notice after the fact, and I called Stephanie back up, and she said, yes, I did it because of my boyfriend. Told her.
Just a second. When were you served with this notice?
I was served with that notice May 18th.
Afterwards?
Afterwards, after the fact.
You have any proof she was served with this notice before? It doesn't have a date on it.
No, Your Honor. They were waiting to serve that to her. They didn't know her location.
So they didn't serve it on her before May 11th?
No, they had it already for her.
Now, were either of you arrested as a result of these incidents?
No, ma'am.
No.
Did either of you file criminal complaints against the other?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I went right to the police station and I told them.
And so you both did?
Yeah.
What happened with those cases?
We dismissed that.
Why?
All we did was pull hair and smack each other. That was it. I don't think we deserved to get a record over that. So.
And why did you dismiss it?
I have 3 children, Your Honor. It's very hard for me to go to court all the time with 3 children.
How old are your children?
7, 2, and 1-year-old.
Where is their father?
Mr. Wilfredo Ilaraza is incarcerated, and the other father I'm not with.
Can I see the damage for the taillight only, please?
And I have the pictures of the
How
other.
many children do you have?
I have 1. I have the pictures of the other damage.
I'm not interested in the other damage.
Okay.
I have a feeling that both of you ladies deserve each other. You had no business being at her housing complex after this kind of incident. So whatever happened to you, you deserved. Do you understand? I mean, I'd like to throw you out entirely because it sounds to me as if you both behaved badly. But I find no excuse for you kicking her blinker.
Your Honor, I was trying to move away.
No, baloney. Full of baloney. Moving away. Then you move away. Move away and kick is something else.
She tried to hit me, Your Honor.
Listen to me. Move away. Walk to someplace safe when you have your baby in your hand.
my son.
Yeah,
and
I know.
my foot hit her
I
blinker.
understand. Believe me, madam. I understand.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Get out of here. Parts is $101. Body labor, $195.20. That you'll pay for yourself. Ridiculous. A, whatever you did to each other in that parking lot, you did to each other. Whether you started to pull her hair or she started to pull your hair, both acted like idiots. My problem is that after this altercation, you went to her house.
I didn't go to her house.
To her apartment complex. And that was stupid.
It was.
So if your car got damaged going to her apartment complex, you pay for it. You pay for your own stupidity. But I find that you had absolutely no reason to kick her car. I also find that this is an inflated estimate of repair. So I'm going to give you the cost of the parts, which is $101.26. You paid to have it fixed yourself. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff, $101.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Yeah, this is case number 236 on the calendar in the matter of Michaud versus Faria. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Miss Michaud, according to your complaint, you and the defendant had at one time been friends, and then there was some sort of a tiff over a boy. But there came a time when you were sort of having a girls' beauty day. You were at a friend's house, the defendant was there, everybody decided to color their hair. According to you, the defendant applied a hair dye on your hair. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then you stayed home, and she and some of the other girls went out to get some other products. They were gone for a couple of hours. You rinsed out the hair dye. Everything was fine. They came back. The defendant put a conditioner on your hair, and then all your hair fell out. Right?
Correct.
So you are convinced that she put something in this conditioner that caused your hair to fall out?
Yes.
What kind of hair product did you use? Was it a product that you had used before? The
Yes.
dye?
The dye was the exact same dye as I had used 3 months prior to this.
The same one?
The same color, the same everything.
Okay, and how long did you leave it on?
45 minutes, like it said on the box.
And you rinsed it out?
And I rinsed it up.
And then you just sat around the house and waited for them to come back?
Well, I was watching her daughter. They stopped at McDonald's or something, I don't know. I was watching her daughter, and I was just rinsed the conditioner, well, the dye out of my hair, and waited for them to get back. And then
What happened when they got back?
She came, and she had 2 little travel-sized bottles of conditioner. She gave one to Karen and one to me. She asked Karen to put it on her hair, and she told us to put it on her hair for as long as we could stand it. Now, I'm not sure what that meant, but once we put the conditioner on her hair...
Well, did you look at the travel-sized bottle of conditioner?
Yes. It was the exact same. I've used that conditioner before. It was the exact same kind as she was using.
Right. And did you open it yourself?
No.
Who opened it?
Danielle.
Were you there when she opened it?
Yeah, I was there when she opened it.
And you had used that conditioner previously and nothing had happened?
Correct.
And you put it on your hair and what happened?
I let it sit for a little while and then it started to burn. And Karen went into the bathroom to rinse that conditioner because she had it on her hair too.
Step up here, please. You're Karen?
Yes.
Karen, when you put the conditioner on your hair, did it burn too?
No.
It didn't burn at all?
Nope.
Had you ever used that conditioner before?
No.
But you went to rinse yours out.
Yes.
Why?
Because she said her head started to burn, so I was scared that it might have a reaction with my head, so I went to rinse my hair out, and I rinsed it out, and it was just conditioned.
What happened when you went to rinse yours out?
Well, I went into the bathroom to rinse it out, and I put my head under the drain. I was standing in the bathtub, and I looked down at my hands, and there was hair in my hands, but I thought it was just because I had dyed it and maybe someone died, right? But then I came to the conclusion that when I dyed my hair, it was fine. When I rinsed the hair dye out, it was fine. All of a sudden, it started coming out in clumps, like the whole bathtub, the whole bathroom was covered in hair. My hands were full of hair.
How long was your hair?
Short, but...
Okay.
It didn't come out at the root. It came down to like a little stubble. And for 3 days, it just kept coming out more and more. Every time I washed it, every time I brushed it, it just kept falling out and falling out and falling out until I had a burnt spot in my head that would stretch about that far.
Did you take the bottle of conditioner?
No.
Why not?
Because the garbage had gotten emptied out with the bottle of conditioner in it right after it happened.
Well, wouldn't it have been wise to save that bottle? Once you saw all your hair falling out in the drain.
It did cross my mind, and I went to look in the garbage, but it had been emptied already.
Who emptied it?
Karen.
Where did she put it?
Oh, I had emptied the garbage can because we had dyed our hair and used the same garbage can. So I have a 3-month-old downstairs, so there was like all the chemical stuff in one garbage can. So after we had put our conditioner out and it started to smell, I took it out, tied it up in a bag, and put it in the garage outside.
Okay, so there was no reason why you couldn't go get that vial from the garage outside, right?
Right.
Well, why didn't you think about doing that?
Because I wasn't really convinced yet that she had done it. Like, I was suspicious, but I wasn't really convinced that she had done it.
Okay. So now you're having a reaction, and your hair is coming out in clumps as you're rinsing it out.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not convinced that she did it. What convinced you, according to you, that she had done it?
Well, once I stopped to think about it, she's cut my hair before, and it looked not so great. And she went to Karen and to my boyfriend Brian and said, well, I cut her hair like that so she'd look stupid so Brian wouldn't want her. And not only that, but a friend of ours was sleeping on the couch one night, and she said she was envious of her hair.
Just a minute. Is this something that you heard or that somebody told you?
Well, she said it to her.
What did she say?
She said that Nicole asked her to cut her hair, and she cut her hair, and she said that she purposely messed it up because Brian told her to do it, to make her look ugly.
Now, did you go to the store with her?
Yes, I did.
And how many other people went to the store with her?
It was me, Danielle, and Jamie, who is a friend of ours. He was at the house that night.
What store did you go to?
We went to Walmart.
Were you all together?
Yes.
Were you all together when the conditioner was purchased?
No. Me and Jamie took some of the stuff that she wanted to buy. She said she wanted a phone card for her phone. So we went to the electronics section to get her phone card while she was purchasing everything else she had bought that day.
Who carried the bag with the conditioner and all the other stuff?
Danielle.
Now, when you got back, who took out the conditioner bottles from the bag?
Danielle.
Did they look exactly the same?
Yes.
Was there any indication that either one had been tampered with?
No.
Did you see both bottles?
Yes.
They were both the exact same bottles?
Yes. Travel size conditioners. Same kind, everything.
So when they were taken out of the bag, do you remember this when she took them out of the bag?
No, I wasn't there when she took them out of the bag. Like, we had everything set up in the bathroom, but the problem was I have a 3-month-old, so we couldn't all just be in the bathroom at the same time. So she went downstairs first, and I went downstairs. Jamie was already downstairs. Nicole was already downstairs because she was there. We had just gotten back. I went into the bathroom. The bottles were already out of the bag. They were on the counter. She grabbed one. She said, here, you got to put this on your hair. You got to put it on your hair dry, like instead of having the water in it. So I'm like, okay. So I put it on my hair. No big deal. Just left it in my hair.
How many other items were purchased that day?
There was the 2 bottles of conditioner, a phone, 1 or 2 phone cards for cell phone, a prescription, I don't know what it was though, from the pharmacy. And hair dye, her hair dye.
Whose hair dye?
Danielle's.
You didn't see any purchase of any hair remover or anything else, did you?
No, I just know what she said she had to pick up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did either of the 2 conditioners smell any differently when you put them on?
Not at first, but once we put them on our head, then my hair started to smell like if you were to light someone's hair on fire.
And later today,
we ended up filing a police report on Amanda Sheppy because she threatened to kill me.
Well, did she threaten you before or after you didn't pay the rent?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nicole Michaud says Danielle Faria tampered with her hair conditioner, causing her hair to fall out. Danielle denies the charge.
Well, Danielle, I have one question for you. Did you dislike her enough to put something in that conditioner that would cause her hair to fall out?
No.
Hmm?
No, ma'am.
What do you think might have caused her hair to fall out?
I'm not sure, but as soon as it started happening, I was the one who was on the phone to the hair dye company and to the conditioner. Karen was there when I was on the phone with them. I asked them, I said, this is what's happening, what can we do?
Is that true?
Yes. They said nothing. They said she must have just had an allergic reaction or something, because on every hair dye, the pamphlet where you get the gloves, says do a 48-hour allergy test.
Yeah, but she had already used this hair dye according to her before.
True.
Okay, but you actually got on the phone.
Yes, I did.
Did anybody suggest that you get the little bottle and find out anything about the bottle?
Well, no. The actual hair company that we used, the actual product, they were closed. Like when I called, this was at probably like 10 o'clock at night, they were closed. So I called L'Oreal, which was the product that I used, just the number off my box, and they're the ones who told me this, and they said just make sure she doesn't brush her hair or whatever. And the conditioner didn't even cross my mind, because conditioner, you wouldn't think it would do anything.
You told her to put it on and leave it on as long as you could.
Mm-hmm.
Did you tell her that?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Just because that's what the lady at the Walmart told me when we were shopping. I didn't even remember, I didn't even think of getting the conditioner until we had talked to the cosmetician, whatever she's called, in the Walmart, and she had said that because Nicole wanted to dye her hair black, then put blonde peroxide streaks into it. So I asked her, I said, well, what can we possibly use I know her hair is going to be damaged either way, but what could we possibly use to at least save it a little bit? And that's what she gave me, was those 2 conditioners.
You know what your problem is? What you think, Nicole, may have happened. It is possible. But the one thing that you would have had to establish that Danielle did something purposefully to you is to have saved the bottle, right?
Yes.
Wasn't put in a trash compactor, it was just outside in the trash. All you had to do was open up the trash, dig in, find both bottles, because you don't know which one is which. You would have had both bottles. They could have been tested to see if there was anything in there. Did either of the 2 conditioners smell any differently when you put them on?
Not at first, but once we put them on our head, then my hair started to smell like, if you were to light someone's hair on fire, that's what it started to smell like. The entire basement smelled like burned hair, and hers smelled fine. Just smelled like regular.
And hers smelled fine.
Yeah.
What kind of dye did you put on your hair?
Same as hers, nice and easy.
Were you planning on putting blonde streaks in your hair?
I was, but I hadn't gotten that far yet, because she had given me the conditioner and said, if you put this on your hair, then it'll stop it from dyeing when you put the blonde streaks in. And so I did.
Do you understand what the problem is? I mean, what you're accusing her of is a serious, really a serious assault. Tampering with a product in order to cause danger to you. I don't know if that's true. I mean, she purchased a product. There was no indication that they were tampered with before it was put on your head. Is it possible that she went into the store, purchased these 2 vials, went over to a different area, picked up a hair remover, poured some out somehow, right? Filled up your bottle with, or part of your bottle with a hair remover. I mean, is that possible?
I think it is.
It's possible. It's unlikely that somebody wouldn't have seen all this activity going on in the store, right?
It's true, but we never really asked anybody in the store if they'd seen anything weird.
Well, if you never asked anybody, then that's your problem, because you're suing her. You go into the store and you ask a question, and you get the evidence. The proof is in those little bottles. But before I'm prepared to say that this young woman committed a felony, which is really what you're talking about, because that would have been a felony, I need more proof than that, and so does every other court. I think you look terrific. And it's going to grow. It's a style, anyway. Still have the same boyfriend?
Kind of, I guess. We still associate.
Okay, good. All I can tell you is, Miss Faria, if you did what she thinks that you did, if you did, that's a terrible thing. Unfortunately, she can't prove it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Danielle has a way of getting in and making everything look like it's okay for a little while, and then pushing everybody out and ruining everybody's life.
Nicole has a way to turn everything. She's a drama queen. She screams it for attention, and she'll do anything to get it.
I'm not going to let her touch my hair anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Nicklin, Sheppy, Peterson versus Dingman. Step forward, please.
Carrie Nicklin, Amanda Sheppy, and Emily Peterson are suing former roommate, 19-year-old student Lisa Dingman, for breaking an apartment lease. Lisa says she broke the lease because she received a scholarship to go to another school.
All right, not a very difficult case. You ladies all went to college together. You decided at some point that you wanted to, the following year, live together off campus in an apartment. And you found a 2-bedroom apartment, and the 4 of you signed a lease. So far, am I correct?
Yes.
At some point, you decided that you were changing schools.
Yes.
And you were going to be living in another city, and were not going to avail yourself of this apartment.
Yes.
Your lawsuit wants rent for 2 months, her share of the rent for 2 months, when you did not find another roommate.
A month and a half, we're asking, and the $100 to change the lease.
When you leased this apartment, it was from what month to what month?
The lease began on August 17th of the year 2000, and it would go to the following date of the following year.
Okay. And it started when the school year starts.
Right, a few weeks before school started, which was convenient for us because we started practice early anyway.
What kind of practice?
Cross country.
Cross country?
Running.
Running.
Yeah.
All of you were on the team?
Yes.
But it's not easy to find a roommate during the summertime because school isn't in session, but you have to rent this place for a year. Is that right?
Yeah, and Lisa had only given us 3 weeks' notice
No,
before.
don't ask. I just answer my questions.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, do you think that this is reasonable?
After what they put me through, no.
I'm not interested in what they put you through.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. University track team members Carrie Nicklin, Amanda Sheppy, and Emily Peterson say former teammate and roommate Lisa Dingman owes them for breaking an apartment lease.
Okay, I've had kids who were in college. They have to rent a place for a year, even though they're not using it for the whole period of time. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So, and people aren't there before so that, you could fill in immediately. You have to wait until people start coming back and looking for another place to live.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why don't you think you're responsible for this month and a half and for, according to the plaintiffs, the $100 that they had to pay in order to change the names on the lease?
Because when this started, I did offer to pay the $100 to change my name, but they have put me through a lot of stuff. We ended up filing a police report on Amanda Sheppy because she threatened to kill me. And Carrie
Well, did she
Nicklin.
threaten you before or after you didn't pay the rent?
This was before. We had a meeting at Emily Peterson's house, and I brought along a list of options that I said that I would be willing to help them to help this situation out.
Well, what kind of options did you offer?
I offered that they can go with the 3 of them, and the monthly rent would go from $720 to $620, and they would each only have to pay $26 extra a month.
Why should they have to pay anything extra?
Because I was offered a scholarship to go to another school.
Yeah, but they're not responsible for that. You are.
Okay. Another option that I gave them was that if they wanted a 4th person, I would be willing to find them a new roommate, and then I would pay the $100 to take my name off of the lease, and I would pay $100 to put somebody else's name on the lease. And they would not agree to that either.
Well, that's reasonable that they wouldn't agree to that. I assume when you rent a 2-bedroom apartment, that means you're going to be sharing a room with somebody, and they want to be able to choose somebody that they are compatible with rather than having you go out and find somebody that may not be somebody that they can live with.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Do you think that this is reasonable?
Well, I felt that if I left it up, like if they were to find another roommate, and I did not help out and all, that they would drag this on for the whole year, and I wouldn't be able to afford to pay $100 a month living someplace else.
Of course, you're absolutely right, but they didn't do that. They found somebody almost immediately.
They did not inform me of that.
Well, but they did. Certainly when you received the summons to appear in court, you realized that it was just a month and a half, that they were out your share of the rent, so they found somebody immediately.
Yeah, when they first were going to summon me to court, it was for $665. And that I did not think was reasonable at all.
Well, do you think that this is reasonable?
After what they put me through, no, I do not.
I'm not interested in what they put you through. $370 is a month and a half's worth of rent and $100 to change the name on the lease.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Lovely. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $370.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a...
Your Honor, this is case number 108 on the calendar in the matter of Wilson versus Pierce. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Wilson, according to what I've read, you knew the defendant through a niece of yours.
Yes.
The defendant had 2 children, and she found herself pregnant.
Yes.
And had very little money. So far correct?
No, ma'am.
Had a lot of responsibility.
Yes, ma'am. But it was financial responsibility.
And a decision was made between the 2 of you that you would take the baby, right?
Yes, yes.
According to you, you kept the baby for 2 years.
Yes.
Little girl?
Yes.
Raised her in your home?
Yes.
With the expectation that you were going to be keeping her?
Yes.
And then you had to register her for daycare. You notified the state that her survivor's benefits, because her father was deceased?
Yes, her father was deceased.
Should be transferred to you?
Yes.
And that when Miss Pierce found out that you had done that, she came and took the baby back?
Yes.
And you want to be compensated for the 2 years that you supported this child. That's what your lawsuit is about.
Yes.
Right?
It is correct, Judge Judy.
Miss Pierce, according to you, nothing could be farther from the truth. Miss Wilson did not raise this child. The child lived with you always.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Miss Wilson, during what stage of the pregnancy did you make arrangements with Miss Pierce to take the baby?
At delivery.
At delivery?
At delivery.
Were you in the hospital when the baby was born?
Yes, I was.
Do you have any other children?
Yes, I have 6 other kids.
Are they all grown?
No.
How old are they?
Starting from 4 to 14.
Could you tell me why you chose to take on this additional responsibility?
Because I love kids, and the 6 that I have, it's not biological mine, and
they're not biologically yours?
No, not biologically.
Are they adopted children?
No, just some kids are keeping until their parents can get on their feet and they come and pick them up.
Do you work?
Yes, I work for the Wake County Public Schools.
Who takes care of these children when you're working?
Daycare.
Do you get any assistance from the state for them?
No, because I don't have legal custody of them.
And how long has the 14-year-old been with you?
Oh, she was 6 weeks old.
Is that you? Step up here.
That's my daughter, Tabitha.
Tell me your first name.
Tabitha.
Tabitha. Do you see your biological parents? Mm-hmm. You do?
Every other week.
Do you go to their house?
Mm-hmm.
You stay with them for a weekend?
Yes, sometimes.
But you've been living with Miss Wilson since you're a baby.
Mm-hmm.
She take good care of you?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do in school?
Good.
Do you help take care of the younger ones?
Mm-hmm. I love them to death. I love little children.
Do you know Miss Pierce's baby?
Yes, ma'am.
What's her name?
Diamond.
Do you remember when Diamond came to live with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that.
She had called us to come to the doctor because she was about to deliver Diamond. So I went with my mom, woke me up, we got dressed, and we went to the hospital. Francis told the doctors to hand her over to my mom when she came out, and my mom walked around and held her, and she smiled at me and my mom. And then that's when they put her in a little bed, and then we all went home. Then 2 weeks later, she called for us to come and get Diamond.
Did Diamond live in your house all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Have a seat. You got no support from this child at all during the time she was with you?
No, I didn't. Not at all.
And tell me what happened after 2 years, Miss Wilson.
I told Francie that I need to put Diamond into...
This is Francie.
This is Francis. I need to put Diamond in daycare, and I needed $90 to do so. And, well, that didn't work. So I went down to Social Security and filed for Diamond's SSI to come to where Diamond lived, which is my address. I had that done, and then I went back home. In about 2 hours, I called Frances and told her what I had done, and if she rejected, I wouldn't get it, but if she didn't, I would get it for Diamond. And she said, no, you can't, because this is what I need over here. But I said, well, Diamond don't live over there. Diamond lives here. So I'd say an hour, 2 hours, the Raleigh police come to pick her up. That was April the 28th this year, 2000. And I haven't seen her since then, but I want to see my baby. That's my daughter. I mean, she had her, and I love this baby. I want to see this baby. I want to see her.
Miss Wilson, what do you do for the school system?
I'm a teacher's assistant.
You don't have any court papers for any of your children that are living with you?
No, no court papers, no legal documents.
No guardianship papers?
No.
Tell me why, Miss Wilson. You are not an unintelligent woman. You know that if you have children living with you, for instance, if they need to go to the doctor, and you have to sign a consent form for the doctor to take care of them, who signs that form?
I do. I signed the form.
But you don't have the legal right to sign the form unless you have these papers for your kids. Certainly, this young lady has been with you for all of her life. You are her mother in every real sense of the word. But you should have some papers for her. There are ways that you can get assistance for these children to make your life a little more comfortable.
Judge Judy, the 5 kids, well, the 6 that I have, their mom, they cooperate with me. And when we correspond together, they sign papers, they give me money for them. And that's one reason why, because I didn't want to sign the legal papers for them, because they cooperate. We would talk, and we just got along great. But when it comes down to Miss Frances, we just couldn't communicate. And I love my daughter. That's my daughter.
Well, Miss Wilson, if she did live with you for that 2-year period, and she did not live with her mother, and if you want to fight for custody of her, I believe that you have the right to do that. I can't tell you what the outcome of that case would be, Miss Wilson, but there are certain rules with regard to parenting. You cannot leave your child with someone else for 2 years and just decide to take her back. The court, however, Miss Wilson, will look into your current situation with the other children that you have in your house, and they're going to scratch their heads like I am and say, listen, either this woman should be nominated for sainthood or there's something wrong with her. I have a feeling it's the former rather than the latter, because it seems that you have a working relationship that most courts can't work out for at least 14 years with regard to having a nice relationship with your biological parents, but knowing that you have a secure, stable home with you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
At the time, Diamond's father was going through some problems himself. He was dealing with drugs, staying in and out of prison.
I have a sense that you are struggling with these 3 kids.
I am.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shirley Wilson is suing former friend, 27-year-old Frances Pierce, for the cost of caring for Frances' baby.
All right, Miss Pierce, let's hear your side of the story.
Yes, ma'am. I was introduced to Miss Wilson. I was 6.5 months pregnant. At the time, Diamond's father was going through some problems himself. He was dealing with drugs, staying in and out of prison. And at that time, I had just moved. I was going through a lot of stress. I found out I was pregnant. I didn't go get any prenatal care until I was 6.5 months pregnant, because I didn't want to realize that I was actually having another child. Just getting myself back on my feet, getting in good, doing good. I said, I don't really want to have this baby. I don't want to abort, okay? I want to find another situation. We sat down, we talked. She'd come to my house. I would go visit her. We talked about maybe giving up for an adoption. I said, well, okay, right now, in the situation I'm in, I can't deal with her father. I know I'm not going to get any help. I'm just getting off of assistance, and my goal is to keep going. I don't want assistance anymore.
Okay, but you had already talked to Miss Wilson with the idea that she would adopt your baby.
Yes, ma'am. But she knew, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, then when Miss Wilson came up, that's true, her and the daughter came up and Diamond was born. She did hail Diamond, they talked or whatever. After that, I did not see Miss Wilson anymore till Diamond was like maybe 3.5 weeks old. She did not keep Diamond. Diamond went with Felicia Wilson and her mother. Social service paid them to keep them because at that time I was working at Winn-Dixie and I was cleaning buildings at night.
What happened after 3 weeks, Miss Pierce?
I went to work. I went back to work.
And
Started
who
back
took
working.
Diamond after 3 weeks?
She stayed in my home, but Felicia Wilson and her mother, social service paid them to keep her while I worked.
Well, tell me under what circumstances she started to stay with Miss Wilson.
Miss Wilson came by and said her school donated a whole bunch of clothes and stuff for Diamond, brand new clothes. She said, Francis, I understand the situation you're in. She said, we'll sit down and talk about it. Right now it's probably not the right time to talk about it. She said, but I will agree to let Diamond stay in my home if you need it. I said, well, right now I don't really need her to stay overnight. I just need help with daycare until they will approve me to get it, because at that time my assistance was ran out. I wouldn't even be able to apply for any more. When Diamond got 9 months old, she said, I'm attached to her and I cannot let her go. If we want to do it another way, we can do it. If you don't want to do it the legal way. And I told her I wouldn't do it the legal way because I felt guilty with myself. I can't give her up like that because she got sisters and brothers and it will break their heart. When she leaves to go over there for the weekend or during the day, they run to her. They want to go with Shirley. Shirley has taken them with her. And she has babysitted my other 2 kids while I work. And I work down the street from her apartment, cleaning. She would come and get my kids. When I get off work, I would go back up the street to get them. I wouldn't apply for child care. They approved me child care for all of my kids under the agreement if I went back and got some trade in school. I did. Went to CET and graduated in medical billing.
Where was Diamond living from the time she was 9 months old?
Off and on between both of our houses during the weekend. She stayed with me during the week.
You don't mean during the weekend?
During the week, Diamond stayed in my home. If she wasn't there babysitting with them, she stayed because Ms. Wilson worked at school. She's a janitor at Wake County. She worked, so how could she keep her in her home when the other kids are in school?
Okay. You have things that you want to show me?
Yes, I have. When I first put Diamond in daycare, I have the daycare papers each day coming home telling me about. I also have Diamond's birth certificate. I have Diamond from birth to 2 years old in pictures.
Let me see.
Judge Judy, the papers she has is the papers when a kid come home from school, it's in the bag. They would say, we need Pampers,
well,
we need wipes.
I understand exactly what it is.
Okay.
I have grandchildren.
And I have
go
the
to
same
daycare.
papers she has.
Well, let me see them.
I have an application for when I went.
No, show me the bag.
No, I don't have, it's a bag, it's a book, you know, your bag pack.
I understand that. Show me the stuff that came out of the bag that says you picked her up from daycare.
I don't have, she ran on a van. She rode on a van. Transportation was provided for Diamond. In her cubby bag, everything, wherever they say her daily, she did this today, she ate this today, we need Pampers, we need wipes,
yeah, I know that.
Please send. No one had to sign for that. That was just a daily routine for them.
I understand that, but she has it in her possession.
Because when she would call and tell Mr. Mills, I'm coming to pick Diamond up, he would give her the whole bag with the Pampers and everything
So
in
she
it.
came to pick the child.
Yeah, in the evening, yes.
She came to pick the child up in the evening.
Yes, ma'am. After she would call me.
Just a second. If she was picking her up in the evening, that suggests to me that she slept at her house.
Sometimes, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She went back and had Child Protective Service put on me, Social Security. They cut my daughter's benefit. I could not afford to pay her daycare. They was not only just helping her go to daycare, they was helping my other 2 kids.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shirley Wilson claims 27-year-old mother, Frances Pierce, owes her for 2 years of child care.
So she slept at her house, according to these papers, at least half the time.
No, ma'am.
You know, according to these papers, if she were picking her up in the evening.
Judge Judy, can I explain something?
Yeah.
The way that it works in Raleigh, if I'm at work, I have to sign a statement stating who's authorized to release my kids off the van, which at that time was Mr. Napoleon Mills, was my fiance.
He's not your fiance anymore?
No, ma'am. He, at that time, had to work himself. So she will call me and say, Francis, I'm going to come by. I will call Napoleon. Shirley's coming by. Just give her the bag. Everything is in the bag.
Okay, Miss Pierce, right now we have the following problem. We have a problem with Miss Wilson and your daughter Diamond, who were clearly attached to each other, not seeing each other since April 28th. For whatever reason, for whatever anger you may have with each other.
None. I don't have any anger towards her.
Great. You got attached, she got attached. There was a time in the beginning that you were going to let her adopt this child.
Yes, ma'am.
She even for a short period of time, was laboring under that assumption until you felt as if you couldn't do it legally, according to you, but you would do it in spirit because she could come and take her whenever she wanted to, and she could be as an involved parent as she wished. So she was really doing a good thing because you were at a stress time. But right now your daughter has an attachment to her, and it's not the right thing for her not to see her. It's not the right thing.
I understand that. Okay. It was just the fact that I didn't like the procedures after I told her no. She went back and had Child Protective Service put on me, Social Security. They cut my daughter's benefit. I could not afford to pay her daycare. If she didn't go, they was not only just helping her go to daycare, they was helping my other 2 kids. When they take one out, that means the other 2 come out. That means I have to stop working. I got to depend on other people. I explained that to her. I had to go to legal aid, get lawyers and things. Okay. I mean, I understand what she's doing. I have no problem with her seeing Diamond. Diamond loves her to death, but I just did not like the fact that she did not ask me for $90. I paid $191, so giving her $90 ain't no big thing to me. But why should I give it to her when she worked the same time I do?
You have no problem with Diamond spending some time with Miss Wilson
during the day, not overnight.
Okay?
Okay, that's fine. Great.
All right.
Love that.
Now, are you going to be able to work out informally Diamond spending, say, the weekends at Miss Wilson's house?
Not the weekends. Her biological grandmother has her for the weekends, on the weekends, because they don't have no bond since her father's been dead.
So you mean just recently she's been spending time with her biological grandmother?
Yes, ma'am, she has.
Judge, she don't know her biological grandmama.
That's why she's spending time with her grandmother, because her father and his mother never got along. She's going through a thing herself. She's not going to live too long. And I feel my commitment to her is to let her at least bond with her biological. I don't have a problem with her seeing her. She knows her biological grandmother. She took her down to her biological grandmother's house to visit her.
Miss Pierce, I have a sense that you are struggling, doing well, but struggling with these 3 kids. Because if Diamond's biological grandmother didn't bond with her because she didn't see her for 2 years, and now Diamond is not with Miss Wilson on the weekends, so you really needed somebody else to fill in. So you're getting, so the biological grandmother is a very good vehicle to fill in. That's not right for Diamond.
No, that's not the way it was.
That's not right for Diamond. Well, that's pretty much what you said. She said she hasn't bonded with her biological grandmother, so now she's doing it.
Because of her father.
Well, how long is her father dead?
He's been dead for 2 years.
He's been dead for 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So for the last 2 years, she hasn't been seeing Diamond every weekend.
No, she's been seeing Diamond off and on. Ms. Wilson set it up to her.
Off and on.
Yes, ma'am.
Not every weekend.
No, ma'am.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
So you make arrangements with Miss Wilson. Do it. Because I have a sense that if she believes that Diamond is being well taken care of.
I don't, Judge.
Well, if you don't, then you have to do something, Miss Wilson.
Okay.
If you don't, then I've told you what you have to do.
Okay, I'll do that.
If you think that this child is being shifted around from place to place because Miss Pierce is really overwhelmed, you have a responsibility to this child. And your responsibility is to proceed for the first time, at least, in a legal, formal way.
Okay.
You have to do that. But as far as this case is concerned, you did not have a formal arrangement with her for support for Diamond. So you're going to be unsuccessful. She didn't have any money anyway. The problem is, if you're going to proceed in a legal fashion by going to court, there is going to be a battle. Maybe, maybe not. If you are not going to proceed in a formal legal way, but want to continue to see her when her mother says that you can, then you have to maintain a good relationship with her. Okay. You understand?
Yes, I
You have
understand
any
very
questions at all?
No, I don't.
Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Good. Good luck to you all. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue.
Yeah, this is case number 214 on the calendar, the matter of Hunter versus Mosley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Young folks, have a seat, please.
The mothers were not at this birthday party, is that right?
That's correct.
But from what I read, and I will speak to the children who were involved, you are suing Miss Mosley because, according to your complaint, the actions of her son caused your daughter to break her foot.
That's correct.
And you are suing her for $5,000 for sordid medical bills and, I assume, some part of that for pain and suffering. Is that right?
Correct.
Well, I have to figure out what happened. So I'd like the two of you to have a seat, please, while I speak to the children. You're Felicia.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you, Felicia?
I'm 12.
And whose birthday party was this?
One of the kids there, but I don't know their names. I was invited by my mom's friend's daughter.
And I gather that they had in the backyard one of these enclosed things where you go in and jump around?
Yes.
I've seen them. My grandchildren have them at their parties. And there's walls all around it. And kids sort of go in, they take off their shoes, and they jump around like crazy.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were in this apparatus, and Devon was there.
Yes.
How many other kids were in the jumping apparatus?
A couple of them, but some couldn't go in there because they were wet, because they were swimming.
So tell me what happened when you were inside.
Let me see. When I first went in there, I was jumping around, and Devon kept pulling me over, pushing me down, and Rachel down. I told him to stop, and he just kept on doing it. And then I told him to stop at the point where he stopped. Then what happened was he started saying, like, I want to pick my pillow, I want to jump on my pillow, and I love my pillow like an armadillo and things like that. And then he started...
He was just being a boy.
Yes, and then what happened was he was jumping on top of girls, and he was on top of girls, they would ask him to get up and all that stuff. And then other girls, they just didn't pay attention, they didn't let him off. So what I did was I dragged him off saying, get off of her, because that's not fair that he was on top of her.
So you went over where he was involved with another child, and you physically pulled him off.
Yes, I said, get off of her.
No, listen to me. You physically pulled him off.
Yes, I did.
Okay, what happened next?
And then what happened was he started doing it to me. And then what happened
what do you mean he started doing what to you?
He started jumping on top of me.
Okay.
And then he started to do it more, and I told him to stop. Then he got on top of me and said, how come my pillow has such soft legs? I said, get off me. And then he started saying that, how come my pillow has such a big butt? And then I said, just get off me, back up before I slap you. It didn't feel right. He just was talking about my body and saying this and that. And then it just got to the point where I got mad and I hit him physically. And then...
Where did you hit him?
Hit him on the back, trying to get him off me. He was on top of me. I was trying to hit him on the back, right? Because I got so sick of it. I went to go get a drink of water. I stepped out the apparatus and I went to go get a drink of water. And there's so many kids, you know, I didn't notice that he was still in there. Then he was in there, and I said, oh, not you again. And then he said, I want to rape my pillow. I just looked at him like disgusted at him. And then what happened was some of his friends or some other friends, guys came in.
By this time, there were a lot of people in there.
Yes.
Ah, okay. Because we started out with just a few, now we got to a lot. There were a lot of people in there.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're still in there?
Yes.
Okay. You haven't gone out for your drink of water yet?
Yes, I have.
Did you go out and come back?
Yes, because I didn't notice that.
Just a second. So you went out and got your water, and then you came back.
I didn't realize that he was in there, ma'am.
Don't tell me what you realized. You went out, you came back.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then what happened?
And then what happened was his friends came in there, and then they started like tackling me and pushing me down, kicking me, punching me. And then I was just like on the balloon floor, and what happened was I got kind of fed up, and I got mad, and I started hitting them back. And then what happened was I got mad at a full adrenaline force. I just started hitting them back, and then I started hitting them back, and then okay. And then I just hit
Felicia, I want you to hold on a second.
Okay.
And try to compose yourself. You want to take some water?
Fine.
Okay. Now, Felicia, they were pulling you.
No, they were like hitting me, punching me.
Where were they hitting you and punching you?
They were like on the right side of the balloon. They started hitting me and pushing me. And I don't know if the adults thought.
I'm not talking about pushing. That's what you do inside those things. You push everybody down and you jump on top of them. I mean, that's what that stupid thing is for. I'm talking about punching.
Yeah, they hit me. They kicked me. I saw Devon. They hit me. They were wrestling me like you do on TV. And then what happened was Devon.
That's his friends.
Right, and then Devon, he was doing flips on me. He missed me several times or more, and then he started coming at me, towards me, and I kicked him away from me. I pushed him because I got mad. I started hitting his friends in self-defense. And then when I was leaving, someone said, look behind you. I looked behind me. I saw a foot come at me. And so when I went to when I touched the ground, I saw my foot go like that and it bent. And while I was crying and suffering, they were all I'm going to say a couple of curse words. Will you allow me? They're saying this is in trouble and call the ambulance and all that stuff and just making fun of me, laughing and just saying derogatory remarks at me. And then when they lifted me up and put me on a chair, I saw behind me and he was just playing a Game Boy. And he didn't even apologize.
And you got hurt and you broke your foot.
Yes, I had to get surgery.
Okay. Let's hear.
Well, everyone in the jumper was wrestling, and she came in and she asked could she play. So we started playing, and then, like, she got out because she said she didn't want to play anymore. And she came back in, and we were all wrestling, and we were having flip contests, and I accidentally hit her because she was in the way. And then
Who were you wrestling with?
Well, the guys were wrestling with the girls. And then I stopped wrestling with her. I started wrestling with my cousin. And I pinned my cousin on the ground. And then she came over and she dragged me and she said, get off, and she kicked me. And then everyone else started wrestling again. And like there was water and soap on the ground from the kids who were swimming. So it was slippery, and she was leaving, and I slid and I hit her. And she fell out and twisted her leg.
Well, when you slid and hit her, is that the exact moment that she fell down?
Yes.
So you did, in fact, kick her.
Yes.
And according to you, it was a little bit of an accident.
Yes, it was.
Maybe.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Anything else that you would consider sexual? What does that mean?
I was thinking.
Well, think harder.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 12-year-old Felicia Hunter says 11-year-old Devon Miller broke her foot while clowning around in a jumping apparatus.
How many times did she hit you? I'm not talking about playing around and pushing. I'm talking about hitting you.
About twice.
And how many times did she pull you off this other girl that you were on top of? Just once? Were you annoyed with her?
Kinda. I stopped playing with her.
But you were annoyed with her. Did you think she was acting like a jerk?
Yes.
Why did you think she was acting like a jerk?
Because I wasn't playing with her and she just started hitting me.
Because she was interfering. Is that right?
Yes.
So you thought she was butting into your business?
Yes.
I have a couple of other questions to ask you, Devon. So far, you've been very honest with me, which is in your favor. Were you saying anything to her about sleeping on your pillow?
No.
And did you say anything to her like
I
that?
didn't say anything to her. I told my cousin that she was my pillow.
Okay, but when you're playing, you're not whispering that to your cousin. You're
No.
sort of saying it loud, right?
Yes.
So she was right there, so she heard you. Devon, right?
Yes.
So far, you're doing okay, Devon. Don't let me down now. Did you say anything, Devon, about her having a soft part of her body?
No.
Nothing else about raping your pillow?
No.
Anything else that you would consider sexual?
No.
What? What does that mean?
I was thinking.
Well, think harder. You don't go to jail for this, Devon. This is just the time for honesty. Okay? So let's hear.
No.
Nothing else?
Nothing.
Did you say anything to anybody else there about her of a sexual nature?
No.
You knew her from before this party?
No.
Or was it the party the first time you ever saw her?
First time.
Really? Did you know the other kids at the party?
Not
Some of them?
everyone.
What did you think of her, Devon, when she first started to play with you?
I thought she wanted to play because we were all wrestling and she just started playing.
Now, Felicia, why did you go back into the jumping apparatus when you left and went and got a drink if it was unpleasant in there?
I didn't notice that he was in there.
I know what these things look like. Unless there are 50 people in there, then you notice somebody is in there. Or you look if somebody has made your life unpleasant.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Right.
You know, you're 12?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're smart enough. If somebody's made your life unpleasant in there, you look. You say, I'm not going back in there because those guys are acting a little too wild. Because they were all acting a little wild.
That wasn't my fault.
Right. Okay, now I'll see the moms. No, I want your kids to stay up there. If you can stand, can you stand up on your foot, Felicia?
I can't put any weight on it.
No, I mean, but can you stay with your mom?
Yeah.
Or you want to sit down?
I'll stay.
Okay. All right, so you got to the party, took her, she was x-rayed, foot is broken. This happened late August, is that right?
Right.
And you have substantial medical bills?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have health insurance?
Yes.
What were your unreimbursed medical bills?
Well, to date, Your Honor, our medical expenses are approximately $9,157.92. And I don't know if that is the extent of that.
$9,000 if you have medical insurance is not going to be your bill.
Well,
Ms.
yeah,
Hunter.
that is the total. That's the total amount of bills that have come into the
That's not what I'm talking about, Ms.
Okay.
Hunter.
20. Okay,
You
I
have insurance.
That's correct.
And you are going to use your insurance because that's what insurance is for.
That's correct.
What kind of plan do you have?
20% of the contracted fees.
Mm-hmm.
Plus a $250 deductible.
Okay, let me see that, please.
Which, what, the bills?
I want to see the bills in your
Okay.
contract where it says that you're responsible for 20%.
Okay. Here are the bills. And this is a summary of our medical plan, and this is the plan that I'm under. I circled it.
Okay. So your office visits, you have the $10 copay, is that right, for your office visits?
Yes.
Okay, and the hospital, you have to pay 20%
Right.
of your hospital bill.
Right.
So you had a hospital bill of $7,262, is that right?
That's correct.
And then you had orthopedic surgical?
Mm-hmm.
Was that done at the hospital or the doctor's office?
The doctor's office. That was for the cast.
Is your portion of that $10? You don't know that?
No.
I mean, there's a tremendous bill, but that's an
Right.
entire bill.
Right.
It says doctor's office visits are $10. When did this happen?
August the 26th.
Well, did you submit these bills?
They've been submitted to the insurance company.
Have you paid any of these
They have
bills?
not paid.
No, have you paid any of the bills?
No, I have not been billed for them.
Your problem, Ms. Hunter, is as follows. You want the defendant's mother to be responsible for $5,000, and I have no idea of what your out-of-pocket expenses are going to be.
Well, I'm not suing. I know that my responsibility will probably not exceed $2,000. That's the 20% that I'm responsible for. Now, beyond that, I'm suing Ms. Mosley for punitive damages for what the injury that her son has caused my daughter.
No. Listen to me. There are certain things that children do that I believe that their parents knew or should have known that they had that kind of propensity, and they allowed the child to, for instance, have access to a weapon, have access to a gun, have access to a knife, have access to certain things, then they are responsible. When you send your child to a birthday party and they choose and elect, at your daughter's age, she's a big girl, she's 12 years old, to go into an apparatus where kids are acting like fools, 12-year-olds, they're jumping all over each other. According to your daughter, she was the one who first put her hands on him. I mean, other than in play. She didn't like the way he was on top of another girl. She dragged him off. She slapped him at one point. Now, I'm absolutely certain that Devon, although he did a very stupid thing, didn't mean for your daughter to break her foot.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He put his hands on me and on my legs, and then he pushed towards me.
That's
and I fell.
what kids do in that thing. You stay there for a long time.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Felicia Hunter says she was harassed and assaulted by 11-year-old Devon Miller. She claims it resulted in a broken foot.
Now, Felicia.
Your Honor, I have something to say.
What?
Beginning when I first entered, he put his hands on me and on my legs, and then he pushed towards me.
That's
and I fell.
what kids do in that thing, Felicia. That's what you get in there for. You stay there for a long time. If you went in there and the kids were jumping around and pulling you down, at your age, you say, I don't like this kind of game. I'm going to go out and find something else to do with this birthday party if you didn't like that game. You know that. We're not playing pin the tail on the donkey here. You know, that's a nice quiet game that kids used to play. They don't play that anymore. Now they rent these big apparatus and kids go in there and they act like fools, but you're 12 years old. If it was getting too rough, you get yourself out of there. I'm not blaming you for breaking your foot, but I certainly don't believe that he intended to cause you to break your foot, or more importantly, that his mother had any notice or any knowledge that he was going to do something that day to injure somebody. And nor did she provide him with the apparatus to do it. You understand? If a parent, for instance, leaves a set of car keys in the car and leaves a 6-year-old in the car, and the 6-year-old manages to turn on the car and drive, and the car starts to roll and they injure somebody, then the parent is responsible for the action of the 6-year-old or the 8-year-old or the 10-year-old or the 12-year-old. But in this case, what proof do you have that this woman had any inkling that her son was going to do something like that?
Well, I don't, but she is responsible for the actions of her child.
Just a second. There you are right to this extent, Miss Hunter. There's no question that Devon here gave her a little nudge when she was getting out of the jumping station, right? You say it was an accident, you slipped on water. I'm not so sure, Devon.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I believe that Miss Mosley would be responsible for your unreimbursed medical bills. He caused the damage. Somebody's got to be responsible for out-of-pocket. And I believe that that should be Miss Mosley. But you don't know what your out-of-pocket is yet. We're going to do this. You wait until you get a statement as to what your insurance paid.
Okay.
Miss Mosley, you will be responsible for any unreimbursed medical bills. I can tell you both that you should be able to handle this without coming back to court and say, here are my bills, here are the checks that I was given from the insurance company, here are the outstanding bills, you cover them.
Okay.
If you can't do that, I'll dismiss your case without prejudice. You can come back to me with the bills and I will order her to pay that. Do you understand? So let's be perfectly clear. You're suing for $5,000. There is no way that I am going to award you punitive damages against Miss Mosley because there is no indication that she knew her son would be involved with that kind of physical activity on that day. Okay. I do, however, believe, as I indicated, that between the two of you, you should not have any out-of-pocket expenses.
Okay.
Your daughter wasn't too smart. She's not blameless in this thing. She stayed there. She participated in the frivolity, right?
Yes.
She did put her hands on him.
Yes.
So I don't believe that either one of these two kids entered that arena that day intending that she end up with a broken foot and all that surgery that was required to make her whole again.
Okay.
So, do you want me to enter an order that, Miss Mosley, you will be responsible for any unreimbursed medical bills as they are presented to you?
Yes.
Good. That's all. We'll prepare an order that the defendant shall be responsible for any unreimbursed medical claims arising out of this incident of August of 2000. Fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties
Thank
are
you.
excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Yeah, this is case number 251 on the calendar in the matter of Carter versus Wickman. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats, huh?
Ms. Carter, based upon your complaint, I gather that you've used the defendant's services as a pet groomer before for your other animals. Is that right?
Yes, it is. I have. I loved her service on my dogs.
You claimed that you took a parrot or a cockatoo or a big bird that you had to her, and she cut the bird's nails.
Correct.
And the bird bled to death. That's what your lawsuit is about.
That's right.
What kind of bird was it?
A lesser softened crested cockatoo. Big name.
And how much did you pay for her?
I traded a rose embroidery machine. We bartered an even trade for Misty Blue at $1,500. And I've got the papers and I've got the...
Your Honor, she told me $1,200.
No. Well, you set the price. You and the person that you bartered with set the price.
Right.
Where'd you buy it from?
Deb Wallstatt, my witness.
Step up, please. You're Deb?
Yes.
How long have you raised these birds?
7 years.
If I went into a pet store to buy one of these birds, what would I pay for it? If I called a local bird store?
$1,600 to $1,800.
And you're a good friend?
No, I've only met her once.
When you sold her the bird, did you give her any instructions on taking care of the bird?
Yes.
Grooming, etc., nails?
Yes.
Et cetera? You gave her instructions?
Yes, I gave her a booklet.
Okay, have a seat.
Thank you.
I may come back to you again.
Okay.
So you bought the bird in January of 2000.
That's right.
When did you take the bird to the defendant?
I took it in June on a Thursday. I don't know the date.
So in June, after 6 months. About 6 months, you took the bird.
To get her nails trimmed because I have little nieces and nephews, and she's so sweet. She would go to the children, but the children were like 5, so I didn't want her to scratch. So I just wanted her nails trimmed so the children could pick her up. She was just a sweetheart.
Tell me about the conversation when you showed up with the bird.
I asked her if she could trim my bird's fingernail. She said she wasn't really prepared, but sure, we'll do it. Let's do it. She moved the dog off the table, and she put my bird on the table.
And that's how you remember it. She said, I'm not really prepared.
Right. She said, I'm not really prepared. And she had a dog on her table. She put the dog down. She said, let's do your bird. Let's do it.
And what happened when she trimmed the bird's nails?
Big drops of blood. Misty got away from her, fell to the ground, and then she couldn't walk on her nails because she was so hurt. She kind of rolled around.
So the first time she cut one nail, was there any blood?
Gobs. Yes, ma'am.
So
gobs,
why didn't she,
drops.
So after she cut the first nail and there were gobs of blood, why didn't she take the bird and leave?
I did not know that she did anything wrong. You know, I figured she knew what she was doing. It was not an issue to take my bird.
Did you read the book she gave you?
Mm-hmm.
The book say anything about trimming the nails and bleeding?
It was normal. Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
No.
So then she cut the second nail. Was it bleeding?
Mm-hmm.
And then all the bird's nails bled as she cut them?
Yes.
Okay. Then the bird's flailing all over the place. And then what happened?
She did not even have no bird stopper. The ointment to quick or powder to stop the blood. She had a little container with empty, and she kept taking my Misty Blue and she kept rubbing its nail like this, and there was nothing to help my Misty Blue.
And then what happened?
I picked Misty Blue up and I left, and she invited me to a lingerie party. I could just pay her there at the lingerie party that night.
So you took the bird and you put the bird in the car?
Yep.
And
I was going to take Misty Blue home. When I got Misty Blue to my house, Misty Blue was dead. And I went and buried Misty Blue in my backyard.
Did you call
the
defendant?
Yes, I did.
What did you tell her?
I told her Misty Blue died. She told me she was going on a wedding, a marriage.
Yes.
And that was it. She would deal with me 10 days when she got back. She was getting married. She had no time for Misty Blue's death.
Okay, let's hear your version of the events, which is somewhat different from the plaintiff's.
Thank you. Everything so far, I disagree with almost all of it. First of all, it was the beginning of April. It was 2 weeks before my wedding. She didn't come into my shop. She walked to my front door. My place of business is my home. Met her at the front door. I said, I don't do birds. I'm a custom dog groomer. Take it to a vet. The local vets will not do nail cutting. You have to take it to an avian veterinarian. Well, she didn't want to do that. She didn't have money, blah, blah, blah. Please.
Well, what did you say? Now, shh.
Okay, I didn't know I couldn't talk.
Don't interrupt.
As a friend, please do me this favor as a friend, as a friend. And I said, as a friend, I will do it. I'm not going to charge you any money.
Ms. Carter,
I will do it as a
stop
friend.
sighing. This is not a presidential debate. Go ahead.
She brought the bird down. I did not put the bird on a grooming table. I said, if I'm going to do this, I want you present, not only present, but to be involved in the clipping. And she held the bird in her hands while I clipped the nails. And as I was peering them back slowly, taking piece by piece on the first nail, she stopped me and said, no, 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 I want them shorter than that. Cut them shorter. And I said, Sheila, they're going to bleed. No, it always does that. That's normal. That's no big deal. It does that all the time. So I took
Am I
it back
saying
a little
this to you?
Now listen to me, Miss Carter. Do
That's
not
right. That's
speak.
what you said. I then continued on clipping the nails. I told her, I explained to her that, you know, they're going to bleed. I had plenty of quick stop. I run a full-service grooming salon. I did stop the bleeding immediately. Every nail that was clipped was then, you know, cauterized with the quick stop.
They're not supposed to bleed.
Oh, they do bleed if you cut them back that far.
No, I understand. If you cut them back that far,
If
of
she will
course,
let
if you
me-
cut somebody's nail that far, you get the skin, they bleed.
Right.
She was telling you cut them shorter and shorter, and you were cutting them shorter and shorter, and the bird was bleeding.
And I told her, I said, I'm doing this under protest, Sheila. I don't want to cut them that short. And she said, oh, they're really, really long. I don't care if they bleed.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I finished with the nail clipping. The bird was full of blood. She dropped it twice. I had her holding the bird. She dropped it twice on the floor. Then when she was gathering the bird back up, she got blood on the bird, and it was a white bird. So she wanted to bathe it. Well, you don't bathe a bird in a dog tub, but she wanted to do it. Can I please use your tub? I said, well, you can do it yourself, but I'm not going to do it. I don't want to be liable. And she said, that's fine. And she used
Stop
the
tapping.
tub. She used the tub with my huge, I have a commercial dog grooming tub with the big sprayer. She sprayed that little tiny bird with this heavy-duty sprayer, got it wet to the skin, which you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to spray them with a mister. I have bird books. I've got stuff, magazines showing that, you are supposed to mist a bird down or put them in a bird bath, which is an inch or two of water, and let them spray themselves and then preen. She didn't believe me, whatever. She was just very persistent on the fact that she was going to wash her bird. So she washed her bird. Then I gave her a towel to dry it with. I walked out of the room because I had company, and I heard the kennel dryer turn on.
She's nuts.
Whatever.
This girl's
I
nuts.
told you.
Off the wall.
I told you.
I know, I'll shut up.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She left my house with her windows rolled down about this far.
What did I drive, honey?
You drove
what
a truck.
vehicle?
Miss
A
Carter,
pickup truck.
one more time,
Okay,
and
I'll
you're out of
shut
here.
up.
And later today,
All of a sudden, I hear somebody banging on the back of my car and yelling and acting crazy.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheila Carter says pet groomer Lori Whitman clipped her bird's nails, causing it to bleed to death. Lori says she warned Sheila she had no experience with birds.
Go ahead.
So then I ran in and took the bird out and wrapped it in a towel. And I said, you have to keep this bird wrapped in a towel. It's going to be cold going home, but get it home, put it in a cage, cover the cage so that it reduces the bird's stress. At that point, she said, no, I don't need to do that. And she took the towel off and left it there. I said, Sheila, keep the towel. You can have the towel. I don't care. Just, keep the bird wrapped in a towel because it will get cold. She left my house with her windows rolled down about this far. And for a draft,
What did I drive, honey?
You drove
What
a truck.
vehicle?
Miss
A
Carter,
pickup truck.
one more time,
Okay,
and
I'll
you're out of
shut
here.
up.
I'm telling you.
I know.
No. Listen to me.
I
Look
know.
at me. One more time, you're dismissed and out of here. Go ahead.
So she left with the windows down, and I turned to my company and I said, that bird's not going to live. She left without a towel wrapped around it. It was cold. It was the 1st of April in Minnesota. And she left with that bird not wrapped up in a towel. It was wet to the bone. And if you expose a bird to high or fluctuations in temperature, it can cause severe shock and even death. And I'm almost positive that that's what the bird died from. I don't think it bled to death because it would have died immediately instead of dying 40 minutes later. It was fine until she put it in the tub and then in the dryer. And that was just ridiculous.
Let me see if I can draw you an analogy. Can you imagine taking your father to a doctor? Let's say a doctor who was a podiatrist, takes care of feet.
Yeah.
And said he needs surgery, bypass surgery. The podiatrist said, I've never done that before. And you said, well, we're here already. Are you following where I'm going?
I see where you're going.
Just do me this favor. I have real confidence in you. You know more about medicine than I do, so just take care of it. Isn't that what you did?
In a way, yes, I did. But I did not portray myself as knowing anything about the bird.
You don't, just a second. You don't have to. Podiatrist doesn't say I know anything about hearts. That's what you did with this bird, according to you. I'm taking your scenario as true. I think that there's a mix of both in what these two stories are. I do believe you said to her, I don't cut birds' nails. I'm a dog groomer. And I do believe she said to you, yeah, but I'm here and the bird's nails need to be cut. Come on, we'll do it together. You didn't want to do it. She twisted your arm.
I was trying to be nice.
My bird.
Shh. Oh, you were almost out. You almost did it. She took the bird to you because you are a groomer. Her head, you groom dogs, you cut their nails, you can groom birds and cut their nails. So she took the dog to you because of your, in her mind, expertise. And all you had to do was say no.
I did.
But you did it. That was wrong. That was wrong. People have the ability to say no and mean it. No, I'm sorry, Sheila. I don't do that. As much as I like you, you have to take the bird someplace else. End of conversation. Come to my lingerie party. We'll have a good time. So as nice a lady as you are responsible for the death of this bird. Judgment for the plaintiff and the amount of the request, which is $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I do hope that if she does get another bird, she'll at least educate herself on how to take care of it.
I am so happy for the verdict. I won my Misty Blue. I love my Misty Blue.
And now the next case.
All parties on Brownback versus Winters. Step forward.
73-year-old Roberta Bromback is suing homemaker Barbara Winters for a fender bender in the parking lot of a Goodwill. Barbara says she never hit her.
Miss Bromback, according to your complaint, the defendant hit the bumper of your car.
Yes, ma'am.
And damaged it. You want her to pay for the damage.
Yes.
She says she did nothing. And she, in addition, fled the scene, according to you.
Yes.
When did this incident occur?
I think it was on the 8th or 9th of September.
Where?
I had a lady with me, a friend of mine, who is blind from a stroke, and we were giving some stuff to the Goodwill. We were parked in behind the Goodwill, and I was putting her back in my car. All of a sudden, my car reared up. She was very frightened, and I turned around, and I looked, and I said to her, hey, she was moving. After she straightened out her car, I said, you hit my car. She stopped, looked at me, and went like this. Well, I got angry at this, and I dropped the wheelchair, and I got her license number, and I turned her into the police station as a hit and run.
Do you have a copy of that report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
That's where the police called me to identify her. And these are appraisals. These are pictures.
Okay, so what did you do after you got the information from the police department?
I was told I had to go down to the police station, and she told me that I had to identify her. Well, I went in, she had 6 pictures, and immediately I said, it's number 1. And she said, are you sure? I said, yes. And she said, well, that's her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was afraid if I got out, she might get violent or something. Well, she's waving around and yelling.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 73-year-old Roberta Brombeck is accusing Barbara Winters of hit and run. Roberta says Barbara backed into her car and fled the scene.
Go ahead. Then she gave me that paper you have and said for me to call her and see if she wanted to settle this in a civil manner. I called her and I asked her. She told me she didn't know what I was talking about. She's sick. She went on. And I said, well, ma'am, I'll call you later date. And I called her again. Then she said, I want your phone number, your car license, what kind of car you got, and where you live. I said, fine. I'll be glad to give it to you. And then from there, she didn't want to pay me, so I filed small claims on her.
Okay. Miss Winters, September 8th, in the parking lot, right outside of Goodwill. You were there?
Yes, I was.
Okay. What kind of car were you driving?
A Mercedes 300D, a burgundy color car.
And tell me about what your recollection is of the incident that involved the plaintiff's car.
Okay, I had dropped some stuff off at the charity, and I'm quite familiar with this place because I often take things to the charity. And I was backing up, and all of a sudden I hear somebody banging on the back of my car and yelling and acting crazy. She said something about, you touched my car. And I was a little scared because when people start to act crazy like this, I get worried because we had an incident at one time where my husband, the back of his car was touched. He was parked, and the people came out and said, look, come check the back of your car. And he did. And when he gets back into his car, and he found out that his briefcase had been stolen. So you
didn't think this little old lady is going to steal your briefcase?
I didn't really know.
You don't mind it like that. You know what I mean.
You're right.
You know what I mean. She's not going to steal your property.
I did not act crazy.
Right.
Anyway, I've had a few unpleasant experiences like this.
So you left.
So I left, and I did not do this. I think I maybe did this. In other words, calm down. It's okay. But I did not feel that I had touched her car. And I was afraid if I got out, she might get violent or something. I didn't see anybody. Well, she's waving around and yelling. So.
All right, so you're contacted by the plaintiff sometime later. Is that right?
Yeah, I got a letter from the police department, actually.
Okay, and what did you do?
I thought, oh, I wonder if it was that little thing where that lady banged on the back of my car. And I looked at the back of my car, and I saw no indication of any bumping or anything. I have a rubberized kind of a car, and there's no way that the damage that I've been accused of could have happened. So I went to the police department, and the detective interviewed me, and we took a look at the back of my car. And she said, no, I don't see any evidence of any damage to the back of your car. And I do have a statement, actually, from her. And I do have some pictures of my car.
Okay.
Oh, and then I have the pictures. And I think I'll show you the pictures. One is the rear bumper of my car, which you will see has no contours on it. There's no metal. And then there's a picture of her car, and there's a picture of the scrapes to her car, which look like they could be taken care of with a spray can, because there's no dents on her car.
You drive a Buick Century?
Yes. Your Honor, I gave her my home address, my license number of my car, in good faith. Last Sunday, this lady came to my house. The neighbor upstairs saw her. She took her Mercedes, bumper to bumper, hit me again to take pictures.
No, she didn't hit you. What she did was listen to me. She didn't hit your car. What she did was she put bumper to bumper
right.
to see if there was a place.
So, you know.
Whatever. Listen, she's entitled to do that. That's a very smart thing to do. She said, if I'm being accused of something, I want to see if it's possible.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Look, Miss Winters, there isn't a question in my mind that this lady is not crazy and that there were no marks on her car beforehand. She acted responsibly and immediately by going to the police because you took off. You took off, according to you, because you were afraid that she was crazy and that she might do something like steal your briefcase, steal your property, do something else. So you decided not to confront the situation immediately by getting out of your car and going to look in the back and say, listen, let me see the damage you claim that I did, which would have resolved this whole dispute. If you had stopped immediately, gotten out of your car, I assume you have a cell phone, right? If you're afraid of her, you say, just a minute, I'm not getting out of my car, I'm calling the police. We'll wait for the police to arrive. Possibility?
Possibility.
But you decided not to do that. You just decided to take off. You owe her $410 for the repairs to her car. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Your Honor, this is case number 255 on the calendar in the matter of Tucker versus Marquez. How you doing, Judge?
Good. How are you, Bird?
Doing fine. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Tucker, your complaint is that the defendant, who is a total stranger to you, damaged your car in a parking lot of a bar.
Yes, ma'am.
When did this happen?
Saturday, September 2nd, after midnight, so it'd probably be Sunday, early morning.
How long had you been in the bar?
For about 45 minutes.
You drove?
Yes, ma'am.
Parked your car in the parking lot?
Yes.
What happened when you came outside?
Miss Marquez was coming across the street towards the club, and she had not made it to the curb yet, and she had asked if I had seen a Lorraine Marin. And I told her, no, I haven't, and I really don't give a about that girl.
Why would you answer that way?
Well, Your Honor, I was a little bit irritated that she came up to me because this girl has a bad reputation, and I was in a bad mood. Lorraine Marin.
Yeah.
And I was in a little bit bad mood, and I was a little bit rude to her. But I don't care for her. She has a really bad reputation in our community. And
you mean this Lorraine has a bad
Yes.
reputation, but you didn't know her at all?
No, I didn't.
You were in a bad mood?
Yeah.
So you were rude?
A little bit.
Okay. What happened next?
She stepped up onto the curb to the sidewalk and said, you have a really bad attitude.
Which you did?
Yes.
Okay.
And she says, obviously, you don't know who I am. And I told her, I really don't care who you are. And at that time, she kept coming forward to me, and I said, what are you going to do, beat me up? And she didn't say anything. And she proceeded to just stand about 4 feet away from me with her back up to the wall of the club entrance.
So, she's standing with her back towards the club entrance.
At that point, I didn't want anything to deal with her. I did not want to fight with her. I just got in my car and left. She didn't say anything. She was really quiet. So when I was pulling out, I noticed her hands were in her jacket pocket, and she was just looking at me. She pulled out a bottle of beer and hurled it at my car. And it hit my window like about right here. And if it would have hit 4 inches down lower, this would have been a whole different case. She would have hit me in the head. I could have been blind. I could have, been maimed for life.
Was your car window open or closed?
Yes, it was open all the way down, and there was glass all over me, and I was completely wet. I had a prior burn cooking, and it had opened up from the glass, and it was bleeding.
So what did you do?
I got out of my car. She was kind of just standing there. I think she had thought she had made her mark, but she didn't. And I went up to her, and I got her by the nape of the neck, and I held her down away from my body, and I told the patrons in the bar to call the cops. I'm putting her under citizen's arrest.
And somebody called the police?
Someone did call the police.
Police arrived?
The police did not arrive. She started to struggle and squirm, and she was saying, let me go, let me go. And I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable detaining her. So I let her go, and she darted off around the club and down some dark railroad tracks. And at that point, my friends urged me. I was bleeding, kind of a little bit stunned. So I went home, and I called the police. They said, I'm over here. Come and take a police report.
And did they?
Yes, they did.
How did you find out her name?
Because we live in a really small neighborhood. It's Niles, and we have a mutual friend that works at a pizza parlor in our town.
But you had never had any contact with her
I've never seen her before. But her family has a very...
I don't care about her family. I'd like to see the photographs that you seem to have, and I'd like to see the police report, please. Okay, and you actually saw the defendant pick up this bottle and hit your car with it?
I saw her put her hand in her coat and take it out of the coat and go like this.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Marquez, would you tell me your version of the events, please?
Yes, ma'am. On September 3rd, it was past midnight, I had been out with Lorraine. I somehow lost her because I don't go inside the bars. She had been sitting, playing pool, whatever she was doing inside the Derby, and I went back there to not pick her up, but to meet with her, and I didn't go inside the bar. The bar door was closed, and she was exiting the bar. Terry Tucker was exiting the bar, and I asked her, hey, is Lorraine in there? She said, I don't know who the Lorraine is, and I don't really care where she is. And I just stood there and I was like, man, you know, you got an attitude problem, lady. And she's all, I know I do. What are you going to do about it? I wasn't exactly looking for a physical altercation with her. I just wanted to ask, I asked a simple yes or no question. She proceeded to just keep calling me all kinds. She called me a Mexican hussy, a chicken. She called me all kinds of like, and this was, I hadn't even spoken after this. I had just still asked a simple question. And see, I'm not accustomed to be spoken to this way, especially when I'm not, you know, doing anything to her. And I just stood there and I'm not going to walk off. I proceeded to wait for her. And she just kept talking and talking and talking and calling me all kinds of names. She then got in her car and then she turned it on, she reversed. I was still standing there and she rolled down her window and she's all, I told you you weren't going to do nothing, you chicken. Then I started saying something back to her and I was like, you know, what do you want me to do? You know, I wasn't looking for any kind of problems with this lady. And she, after I started yelling, you know, back at her, because I wasn't yelling at her when I was standing there, she got out of her car and she walks up to me and she's all, watch this, you little, and she grabbed my hair and I've never been tossed around like this, okay? She grabbed my hair, wrapped it around her wrist, got her nails into my scalp, and then said, you're like coming with me, and she walked me off to the side. At this point, I'm totally hunched over trying, I'm like in shock, going, oh my God, you know, because I couldn't do anything about it. And she starts pounding on the bar door, and I'm like thinking it's funny right now because I'm like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. I just asked her, is Lorraine in there, you know, how, and they open the door and she walks in, and my head smacks the side of the door where the, you know, whatever. Okay. And then I started to taste blood, and I started, you know, I was bleeding, my eye was messed up, my gums were bleeding, I got scraped along the side of the door, and then I was like, I'm bleeding, let me go, you know, come on. And then when I heard she was calling the cops, yeah, I started to wiggle and swarm around. I was appalled. I couldn't believe that I'm getting my, you know, or, excuse my, I started squirming, let me go, let me go, let me go.
And you finally got free?
Yeah, she let me go. There's no way I could have gotten free if she would have let me go.
Where did you go?
Walked home. I lived like 2 minutes from the place. And that's when I went home and I said, I'm bleeding, there's blood clotted at the bottom of my nostrils. And she opens the door and she's like, I'm like, you weren't at the bar, you know, where were you?
Listen to my question.
Huh?
So you got home. Mm-hmm. Did you call the police?
No.
You were just severely assaulted. Blood is all over your mouth. Blood is caking in your nose. You were assaulted by a perfect stranger. They're asking a simple question. When, for the first time, were you contacted by the police?
The next day, I was in the shower, and the doorbell rang. I then said, who is it? It says, Fremont Police, ma'am.
Okay, so it was the next day
that
you were contacted by the police in connection with the plaintiff's complaint of vandalism.
Yes.
Prior to this incident, have you ever been arrested?
What does that have to do with it? I know what it is. Yes, I have.
Speak not. I'm not speaking to you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you currently, Miss Marquez, taking any prescription medication?
No, I am not, ma'am.
Any other kind of medication?
No, I am not, ma'am.
Do you understand where I'm going?
Oh, yeah.
Bert and I have been together for a long time, Miss Marquez. Uh-huh. Bert's got the same kind of nose that I do.
And later today...
You never paid her for the car.
She never asked for the money until that ketchup incident.
So you had to fight over the ketchup and she wanted the money.
She threw a fit over ketchup, so she asked for the money.
Tucker is suing Becky Marquez for throwing a beer bottle at her car. Becky says Terry attacked her for no reason.
Okay. When was the last time you were arrested?
August 31st, 2000. Charges were dropped. No case.
What were you arrested for?
I don't care to discuss that. That's not what I'm here for.
Prior to the 31st of August, when were you arrested?
I don't see what that has to do with this. That's all fine. Yeah, I've been arrested more than once. That's fine. I have no problem admitting that. I don't care if I win or lose this. I am here to make a statement that I did not do anything at all to this perfect stranger. I asked her a question, and that is it. Regardless as to my record, that's nobody's business. Well, yours or hers or anybody's.
Are you currently, Miss Marquez, taking any medication?
Am I?
Yes.
No, I am not, ma'am.
Any prescription medication?
No, I am not, ma'am.
Any other kind of medication?
No, I am not, ma'am.
Okay. So now you're going to have my ruling. Ruling is based on common sense. Do you understand where I'm going?
Oh, yeah.
Bert and I have been together for a long time, Miss Marquez. Bert's got the same kind of nose that I do, right? What doesn't seem to fit, Miss Marquez, with regard to your statement is, common sense would dictate, madam, that if someone had just for absolutely no reason assaulted me, causing me to bleed in the mouth, have kicked up blood in my nostrils, pulled my hair, banged my head into a wall, the first thing that I would do when I made it home that couple of blocks is to pick up the phone, call the police, and say, this perfect stranger, who absolutely had a bad attitude,
exactly,
just assaulted me. This is where it happened. You did nothing. On the other hand, the plaintiff contacted the police immediately. The police responded. The police noted damage to the car. The police noted glass all over the car, totally consistent with someone throwing some sort of an object at the car. Common sense would dictate that when someone is the victim of a crime, in this case vandalism, they want the right person apprehended. They don't want the wrong person apprehended. They want the right person to be apprehended and to be punished, right? So there would be no reason that she would give your name as the person who threw the bottle at her car unless it was true. Let me see the estimates of the damage, please.
The last thing I'm going to do is bring to your attention that I've been arrested before, but since it's all out in the open. Obviously, due to this, I am on certain court-ordered probation. The last thing I'm going to do is call the cops and bring them to me for any reason. I wasn't fatally injured. I was going to get over it. I took a shower, cleared up, had a bruise for a couple of days. The last thing I'm going to do is call the police, because when that happens, most of the time they're not in my favor. I'm not going to call the police. They're not. It wasn't necessary.
You were the victim of an assault.
And I'm not going to call the police. I don't call the cops on nobody, especially not myself. The further away I stay from them, the better off I am. Period.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $758.
That's fine.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Yeah.
I anticipate there may be a little bit of problems.
We want the truth to come out, and I will talk to Terry later.
Just tell the truth and do what you think is right.
And now the next case.
All parties on Safdar versus Johnson. Step forward.
25-year-old waitress Violet Safdar is suing former friend, 25-year-old waitress Melissa Johnson, for the unpaid balance on a used car. Melissa is countersuing for repair bills.
You and the defendant used to be friends, and then you made the stupid mistake of selling her a used car.
Yes.
Never do that. And it is your claim that she owes you $500, which was the agreed-upon price.
Yes.
She says that the repairs cost more than you told her they were going to cost. She's countersuing for $1,600, and she says you stole the pink slip to her car. Right?
Yes.
And that this whole thing would not have come down to a lawsuit, except that you had a fight over something at your place of employment about filling up ketchup bottles.
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Didn't you ever hear the expression?
That's not right
I want
either.
you to try receiving and stop talking. Maybe you'll be more successful in life.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Violet Safdar says former friend Melissa Johnson owes her for the unpaid balance on a car. Melissa says Violet lied about its condition.
Okay, just for my own curiosity, you didn't tell me what the fight was about the ketchup bottle, so who's going to tell me about that?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
Okay, randomly at work, to finish our end of day side work for our job.
You are both waitresses?
Yes. So I asked her, are you going to help me with my side work? She said, no. At that point, I didn't say anything. I stayed a half hour overtime to finish my work. She stayed. We went home. I was living with her at the time. We went home. And from then, we haven't talked.
And was the side work filling up the ketchup bottles?
And syrups.
And syrups?
Yes. Which are 2 big jobs instead of like 2 small jobs, or like setups, or, and sugar and salt. So.
Okay. When did you sell her this car?
June 2000.
What kind of car was it?
A Honda 1986 Prelude.
What was the agreement?
The agreement was that the car needed, that I knew of, $600 to $700 worth of work, and she would then pay me when the work was done.
Just a minute. What was the agreed upon price of the car?
$500.
Is that right?
She said when I was able to make the payments or pay whenever I could the $500 when the car was fixed. To this day, the car is still not fixed. I've made almost $3,000 in repairs.
Well, why didn't you stop at $600?
I had already put too much in it, and it was
no.
It was stupid to just stop, because why did I put that much? I'm not getting that back. If I put that in it, why?
Miss Johnson, you took the car to a mechanic. What was the first thing that the mechanic said to you when you brought the car there?
They told me it would cost around probably about $600, and then 2 days later, it broke down again.
Just a minute.
Was another
so
problem.
Initially
Another.
Initially, you took it to a place of your choice.
Mm-hmm.
They told you it would cost you between $600 and $700 to fix it, which is exactly what she said to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you started to fix it.
Yes.
So she did not purposely deceive you.
No, but she didn't know what all was wrong with the car.
That's
either.
your problem. You buy a car that's 14 years old. The fact that you decided to spend more money doesn't mean that you get another farthing from her. So your counterclaim is dismissed.
Well, I don't think that I should have had to put that much into it.
You shouldn't have.
No,
it's not her fault, it's your fault.
And should I go and spend even more money on another car? That's not right.
No,
I have this car.
Ms. Johnson,
I'm dealing with it.
Don't try to talk over me. No. You shouldn't spend any more money on this car.
So should
Didn't you
I
ever
just
hear
left
the
it?
expression?
That's not right
I
either.
want you to try receiving and stop talking. Maybe you'll be more successful in life. Did you ever hear the expression, throwing good money after bad? Did you ever hear that expression?
No.
Bird, did you ever hear the expression, throwing good money after bad?
Mm-hmm. Every time I spend bad money.
Right? Would you keep pouring thousands of dollars into a 14-year-old car?
No.
You would say, I'm going to cut my losses, and instead of spending $3,000 to get this car fixed, once the $600 is over, I'm going to unload this car. Maybe I can get a couple of $100 for it and buy myself a car that maybe runs. It's not her fault that you decided to put all this money in the car. She did not commit fraud against you. She had the same information you got from your own person. Nobody can tell that a car is going to continually break down. Nobody.
Yeah,
so
even the mechanic said I would be back. Even
so
the mechanic the first time said I would keep coming back.
Counterclaim is dismissed.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You still have the car?
Yes, not really, but it's broke down in Corona. I don't run now.
Do you want it?
Not really.
Good. You want to sign over the pink slip to her?
It's still in my name.
Shh. So you still own the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Go and get it.
I've put too much money into it to just give it up like that.
Well,
she did sign it over. She gave me the pink slip, and then she went and deceived me and took it out of the car.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You never paid her for the car. Shh. Listen to me.
She gave me the pink slip. She did give me the pink slip, and then she took it back from me.
Pay attention. Do you want the car?
Yes, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to resell it. Now I put too much money. It's useless to just throw it away like that.
Fine, then you have to give her $500.
I've worked hard for that much.
Just listen to me. Then you have to give her $500.
I don't believe I should. No, it's...
You didn't pay her for the car.
She never asked for the money until that ketchup incident.
So you had to fight over the ketchup, then she wanted the money.
She threw a fit over ketchup, so she asked for the money.
Miss Johnson, you want the car, or you want to pay her for the car?
I don't want the car, but I'm going to keep it because I spent too much money on it.
Then you have to pay her. Now, what do you want to do?
I guess I don't have a choice, but I don't feel I should have to.
Are you prepared to sign this car over to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Sign the car over to her. Complete the paperwork, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Case number 261 on the calendar in the matter of Fisher versus Goches. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You're welcome. You may be seated.
Mr. Fisher, the defendant used to live with your current fiancée.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've been living with, her first name is Melissa,
Yes, Your Honor.
for 3 years.
Approximately 3 years, yes, Your
And how old is the child?
5 years old.
You claim that the defendant maliciously and willfully did several things. He first filed charges against you with internal affairs. You are a police officer.
Yes, Your Honor.
In addition to that, he filed for a restraining order against you, causing you to have to hire counsel.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in addition, he filed charges with Child Protective Services alleging that you had either abused and or neglected his daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
All of those charges, according to you, were dismissed.
They were, Your Honor.
And you want to be compensated for all your aggravation.
Yes, Your Honor.
And your defense, Mr. Goches, is that you had a right to file these charges.
That is correct.
Okay. When was the incident that precipitated the filing of these charges?
Well, Your Honor, for the last 3 years, this man has harassed myself and my fiancée, Melissa. He couldn't get through the courts to get Melissa, so he elected to in turn attack me, Your Honor.
Were there custody proceedings involving the child?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that right, sir?
That's correct. The judge ordered for us to have the same visitations and the same rights, which is half and half, 50-50. And I got proofs of that.
Let me see what you have. Did you ever sign this stipulation for custody, sir?
Yes, I did.
Because it's not signed here.
Your Honor, it hasn't.
Shh. Melissa signed it. Why haven't you signed it?
I requested these copies from the lawyer, and he still has them.
No. You have this thing here,
Okay.
Mr. Goches. This is a letter that was sent to you. It's a stipulation regarding the custody and visitation order that was agreed to after you all went to mediation.
That's right.
And Melissa signed it. It was awaiting, signed it back in December of 1999.
Correct.
It was awaiting your signature so it could be so ordered by the judge. Why did you never sign it?
The reason why, because I remember now that there were some things that they were still not settled, like the taking our kid to counseling. That was one.
Well, what did you do to follow up on it, sir?
I haven't had money. I have been on disability, and I haven't had money to go to court, Your Honor.
I mean, you go through a whole process. A psychologist, mediator spends hours, if not days, discussing the recommendations with you. They come up with a plan that you both agreed to, and it's clearly laid out here. And then in order to resolve the whole matter, forwarded to you is the stipulation for you to sign so this matter can be resolved. Now it's a year, and you haven't done it. That's outrageous.
Okay.
Outrageous. Okay. Let's start out with the Child Protective Services, please. Did you, in fact, sir, file charges against him with Child Protective Services?
Not against Mr. Fisher, or what I called because I wanted him to investigate. I wanted to put a complaint.
So what was the complaint that you put
The
in?
complaint was about the incident that happened that night, which was Mr. John Fisher, yelling at my daughter, using bad language.
What did he say? Well, your daughter must have told you this, right?
No, that
You
happened
were
the same
there.
night when I was dropping my daughter off, when the incident happened.
Oh, well, tell me about the incident, sir, that caused you to call in a report to Child Protective Services.
It was more verbal abuse, moral
Tell me
abuse.
about it. What did you tell them? How did you tell them that he abused your daughter?
By him yelling at me in front of her, using bad language, ordering my daughter to get out of my truck, and scaring my daughter, using bad language.
Tell me what he did.
Well, what he did was that that night of the 23rd, he arrived in his truck. He parked in the driveway, and
Of whose house?
his house.
So he came to his house and he parked his truck in his driveway.
Correct. He got out
Yes.
of his truck, came over to me.
What were you doing there?
I was waiting for her mother to arrive from work.
So you were waiting?
Yes.
To return her from your custody arrangement?
Correct, yes. And he approached me. He came over where I was parked at. My daughter was right there with me inside the truck. And he started using profanity. Like,
what did he say?
He said, "No, what's wrong with me?" Okay, and I go, okay. And he ordered my daughter to get out of the truck and to go inside the house. My daughter refused. He told him, he told my daughter twice to get out of the truck. My daughter was scared and she jumped into my arms. And that's what happened.
Don't talk to each other, please. Just look at me.
And he ordered my daughter twice to get out of the truck, okay? And he asked me why the heck I was telling my daughter not to go with them. So I ain't gonna leave my daughter with someone like you in this type of mood that he was in, because he did stink, he did stink.
Just a second. Look at me, not him. What happened next?
He told me to get out of the truck, talk man to man, okay? So what I did, I got out of the truck because I was afraid, I was afraid of my...
So you got out of the truck and what happened?
I got out of the truck and started, using more bad language, okay? He started telling me that he's a big American guy, that he has a big job, that how come I do not help her mother with money. And he was not making sense that night.
That makes perfect sense to me, sir. You look like a very healthy man to me. Why aren't you working? It says you don't work here. Just a second. Answer my question.
Sure.
You look very strong and very healthy. It says here, in one part of this report that I just read, that it would be very nice for your daughter to spend the time with you because you don't work. Why don't you work?
Because I'm on disability.
What kind of disability are you on?
I got bad knees and I got bad back.
You got bad knees and you got a bad back.
Correct.
You drive a truck?
I'm a delivery driver, correct, Your Honor.
You were a delivery driver. You were driving a truck the time you drove your daughter home, right?
That's right.
Yeah. When was the last time you sent child support for your daughter or supported her?
There had not been any court orders about child support, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor, I'd like to add...
I'll get to you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did she get hurt?
Yeah, many times.
Many times,
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
What, do you think I was there? It happens.
You're right.
Of course. Think I'm just a good guesser? They don't keep me around here because I'm gorgeous,
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deputy Officer John Fisher says his fiance's ex-boyfriend, Jorge Gatches, falsely accused him of child abuse and making threats.
Now, when did you call Child Protective Services?
The same night after I left the scene.
What did you tell them?
I told him I just wanted to get more information, and I wanted to let him know what happened that night, that my daughter was crying and she was scared. My daughter was refusing to stay alone with them, which she had done it many times before, Your Honor.
Now, when did you file a restraining order against him?
A couple days later.
Why?
Because the same night when I was dropping off my daughter, he threatened me with, because he said that he knows the law, he works with the law, and he knows the law much better.
Yes?
That he knows the law much better than me, okay? And
I think you know a little bit about the civil law, at least very well, at least about workman's compensation and disability. You know a little bit about that. You have a lawyer, right? You have a lawyer, right?
Yes, I do.
You hurt yourself. Let me see if I can put this together. I bet you hurt yourself while you were on your job, right?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
You think I'm just a good guesser? They don't keep me around here because I'm gorgeous, You hurt yourself on your job. You have a lawsuit pending against your employer?
That's correct, Your Honor.
How long have you had a lawsuit pending against your former employer?
It has been about 2 years and a half.
And you go to see a doctor regularly?
Yes.
You go to a chiropractor, perhaps?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Yes, of course. Could almost write the script, right?
You're good.
Would you prefer to sit down, Mr. Gatches? Is your back bothering you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I know you're fine. So he threatened you that he knows the law better than you. I'm not so sure about that, Mr. Fisher. I think he's got the system pretty well played out.
I think so too, Your Honor.
Right. Okay, now let's get to internal affairs. Did you file a complaint against Mr. Fisher with internal affairs?
Not that I can recall that one.
Okay. Do you have any documentation that
Your
Mr.
Honor,
Gotch... Shh, let me finish the question, Mr. Fisher.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any documentation that Mr. Gotch has filed an independent complaint with regard to the incident of the 23rd of August with the police department?
Yes, Your
Internal
Honor.
Affairs. Can I see it,
A
please?
letter from Internal Affairs.
Bottom line is that they, in effect, decided not to pursue any of these complaints because, according to this letter that was sent to you, sir, while you may find Deputy Fisher's conduct objectionable, your complaint does not describe any unlawful conduct. So clearly, you did send a letter of complaint to the Sheriff's Internal Affairs Division, right?
Yes, I did.
Well, that's what I asked you before. I don't understand why this verbal confrontation took place at the beginning, sir. Mr. Gotches, if you got to the house and Melissa wasn't home, instead of sitting outside and waiting for her, why didn't you just either go to your house, take Melissa out for soda, come back when she was there? Why did you sit there and wait for her?
That night, my daughter, it was the second time that she didn't want to stay alone with him. Plus, you know, he's sick.
Wait, stay alone with whom?
Excuse me?
Stay alone with whom?
With Mr. Fisher. She refuses to stay alone with him.
Well, that's not true, sir.
true,
I
Your
guarantee
Honor.
you, sir, they've been living together for almost 3 years, and I guarantee you there are times when your daughter stays home with Mr. Fisher.
Many times, Your Honor.
Without Melissa. Nowhere in this psychiatric and psychological report and the mediation report does it suggest that Mr. Fisher is an inappropriate custodian. It doesn't say that.
Okay.
You live with a child who's 5 years old. Sometimes you're going to raise your voice, right?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Fisher has never used any corporal punishment with regard to your child, right?
That's not what my daughter told me one time.
Oh, well, tell me what your daughter told you
That
one
she got
time.
pushed in the bathtub by him, but he came out with a different story, so I left it to that. And also her mother called me saying that it was just an accident that it happened in the bathtub.
Well, does that sometimes happen, Mr. Gotches? An
She may
accident in the
probably
bathtub?
happen.
Shh. Does that sometimes happen, sir?
Yes.
Let me take you back to when your daughter, and you were living with her at the time, was about 1.5 years old. She started to walk. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember her falling?
Yes.
You remember her falling next to a table?
Yes.
Did she get hurt?
Yeah, many times.
Many times,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
What, do you think I was there? You think I had a camera in your living room?
No.
It happens. You think somebody should notify Child Protective Services because you weren't watching her carefully enough?
You're right.
Of course.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He claims poverty, but he runs up attorney bills to thousands of dollars. Where does he get this money? And then he gets in court and he can't even keep his lies straight, Your Honor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Fisher says Jorge Gotches filed false charges against him, causing him to hire a lawyer.
Listen, you may not like him because he's not working, and you know he's full of baloney.
He's a liar. He's so bored with his life, he drives around the block, getting dizzy watching our house. He's a thorn in our side, and he's waiting for us to get married so that he can take us to court and use my income so he can sponge off the system some more for child support.
Listen to me, Mr. Fisher.
It's the way he is, Your Honor.
Mr. Fisher, you're angry.
I'm not angry, Your Honor.
No, Mr. Fisher, you're angry. And you may have a right to be angry.
Your Honor.
What?
That night did happen. Well, he did threaten me with my life. He said that he was going to send me back, you know, deported back to my country because he knows a friend that lives up the street that lives for the INS, that he knows the system much better than I do, and that he is not afraid to take me in pieces.
Okay.
Your Honor, this
because
man
I was afraid of my life, I did try to get legal counsel, and they told me what to do, and that's what I did. That's why I followed all this process, because I felt, you know, danger for my life and for my daughter, not just, you know, physically, but also by my daughter's health, because this man over here is taking medication for tuberculosis, and he can also infect my daughter with it.
If you knew what you were talking about, you wouldn't be talking.
What's the medication that you're taking
Listen
for?
to me, Bert. I think we should have different positions here. Why don't you go over here?
Sure.
I'm not happy with the fact that the two of you share physical custody of a 5-year-old child and can't at least be civil to each other.
Your Honor, I could be totally civil with this man if he would quit running up attorney bills. He claims poverty, but he runs up attorney bills to thousands of dollars. Where does he get this money? He had enough nerve to call my house and ask Melissa for a loan to pay his attorney bills that he's ran up to $10,000 or $12,000.
Which attorney? For which attorney?
For the one over the custody issue. This man, every time you turn around, we're in court. I personally, myself, have paid around $6,000 in attorney bills because of frivolous motions and stuff like this, restraining orders, and then he gets in court and he can't even keep his lies straight, Your Honor. This man compounds lies so bad he can't even remember the first lie he told.
Okay.
If he was so scared that night, Your Honor,
he wasn't so
why
scared.
did he get, well, that's what he claims in the TRO. Why did he get out of his truck?
Why did you approach me to my truck?
You know,
That's
why
none
did
of
he,
your
if I
business.
had guns and all this other stuff he
You
says,
do.
what?
I don't want you to talk to each other.
The only reason he knows I have guns is because of the line of work I'm in. His daughter has never, ever seen a gun in my house, has never seen me carry a gun. I make it a point not to have guns around.
Listen, I strongly urge you, Mr. Gotches, there is a stipulation here. Melissa signed it. It was waiting for a judge's signature, and there is no reason in the world why you should not sign this thing and put an end to the court works amongst you. Do you understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
Uh-huh.
Now, Mr. Fisher,
Yes, Your Honor.
you think that you've acted wholly appropriately, listen to me, wholly appropriately on the evening of August 23rd?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you say anything to him about, if you want a nice car like this, why don't you get a job?
No, Your Honor, what was said was, he says, you think you're somebody because you're a cop and you drive a $40,000 truck, and I simply said to him, I'm sorry you drive a piece of... I wake up every morning and go to work, that's why I drive a new truck. That's exactly what I
You can
said.
tell that he was using profanity in front of my daughter. Why does he do that?
He may not be perfect, Mr. Gotches. You're not perfect either. We know that. About a lot of things.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
So everything was dismissed. Did you have to hire an attorney?
Yes, Your Honor, this was my job.
Okay.
They took my gun from me.
They did?
Yes, Your Honor.
For how long?
For 11 days, Your Honor.
And how much did you pay the lawyer that you hired?
I paid him $1,300. On top of that, I had a $196 filing fee.
Okay. Mr. Fisher, malicious prosecution suggests that charges were filed that had absolutely no basis, in fact. Was it malicious? I don't think so. I think it was stupid. Mr. Gotches, I believe that Mr. Fisher should not have any out-of-pocket expenses with regard to your complaint against him, and I'm awarding him $1,496 for the charges that you filed against him, which caused him to have to retain counsel. That's the judgment of the court. That's all. Believe me, you'll be much better off if you try to get along. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Case number 212 on the calendar in the matter of Bro versus Alvarado. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
According to your complaint, Miss Bro, you and your boyfriend and the defendant were in a local bowling alley. According to you, the defendant liked your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And there was an altercation. According to you, the defendant assaulted you by smashing a beer bottle across your face, causing several teeth to be broken, and requiring a substantial amount of dental work.
Correct.
You're suing not only for the dental work, but also for your pain and suffering and lost wages. The defendant said you started it, right?
No, she started it, Your Honor.
That's just what I said.
I know.
Pay careful attention. So, when was this?
August 22nd
Of this year?
of this year,
And what time did this incident occur with the bottle?
about 12:15.
When did you first see the defendant in the bowling alley?
Not until after I returned from the restroom. Ryan was at the bar purchasing a beer, and he was agitated.
At what time?
About 12 o'clock.
Okay.
And I went to the bar to see what he was yelling at somebody, and there she was. I asked her, you know, are we going to have problems every time we see each other? You know, can you grow up? You're 33 years old. And she proceeded to walk away, and we got our beers. We walked over to our table where our friend was, and there she was bad-mouthing me.
Just a second. What was she saying?
She said that she's going to get me, and this isn't over, and, you know,
I walked up to her, I'm like, can't you understand? You know, we just had a confrontation at the bar, you walked away. She proceeded to push me. I pushed her back, and then she hit me in the mouth with a beer bottle.
Where was he?
He was still at the bar buying our beer.
Stand up. Tell me your first name.
Ryan.
How old are you, Ryan?
I'm 20.
How do you know the defendant?
From like a general circle of friends, and you know, we're cool. And
what does that mean?
I mean,
cool. I don't understand.
I mean, we talk to each other. We never had problems. You know, we're somewhat friends. And then me and Diane started dating.
Did you ever go out with her
no,
socially?
No, ma'am. And me and Diane started dating, and all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, I can be so much better than Diane. You can live at my house rent-free. I'll take care of you." And
had you had anything to drink before midnight?
No, ma'am.
Had your girlfriend?
No, ma'am.
Now, you were at the bar. Had you finished purchasing those beers when this altercation took place?
Before I could even get them, you know, they were getting into it, and I ran over.
Just a second. While she was in the restroom, did the defendant speak to you?
Yes, ma'am.
What did she say to you?
She said, I haven't seen you for a while. What's been going on? And I told her, I was like, this is not the time. I said, Diane's here. You know, things are going to happen if, you know, you're talking to me. We already told you we don't want you in our life, so you need to go. And that's when Diane walked out of the bathroom and seen us and walked up to see what was going on.
And then she had this verbal confrontation with the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
After she had the verbal confrontation, where did the defendant go?
She walked towards the exit door where the table was, where my buddy was sitting, and Diane went to walk over there, and as she walked over there, you know, I was still standing at the bar. Then all of a sudden I seen security guards run over there. I seen them two going at it, so I ran over there. And
when you say you saw them going at it, what did you see?
I mean, like, I seen them face to face, and then I seen a struggle. That's all I seen. I didn't see the bottle or anything like that.
Now, can you describe to me your girlfriend's face?
When I seen her, her lip was busted. She's like, look what she did to me. These two teeth were broken, and this one just blood, and you know, and she was acting hysterical.
What do you mean she was acting? What did she say?
And she's like, I can't believe this is going on. I, you know, just kept talking, working it up, and that's when the security guards pulled us off to the side and said, wait for the officer to get here.
What happened when the police arrived?
They took our statements, and then...
Do you have a police report?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see it, please?
I have a police report of the incident that happened at the bar, and also of a phone harassment complaint. After we left the bar, she called and left him 4 voicemails on his pager. We called the officer and had him come back over to my house to listen to the voicemail.
Okay. All right, Miss Alvarado, now let me have your version of the events.
Okay. My friend and my witness, Tanya, was with me. I was upstairs shooting pool, having a good time with my friends, and I was just done with my beer, and Tanya said, can you go down and get some more beer? And I was like, sure. I also have to go to the bathroom. I go downstairs, and I see Ryan off, not in the bar, he was off on the concession stand, standing there, and he turns to me and says, oh, hey, Cecilia, what's up? I never approached him, Your Honor. Okay.
Just tell me what happened. Not what you didn't do, what you did do.
Okay. And so then he says, I just want to warn you that Diane is here, and she's wants to kick your. And
can I just
I then said, you know, I'm so tired of this, of her approaching me. I'm 33 years old. I have, you know, a good job, and I was harassed at work by her, and Ryan used to call me also at work. He would tell me to call him. Here's my pager, Cecilia. Here's my cell number. Call me. And no, and it's true.
Just talk to me, not to her.
Okay, well, anyway, and you know, I'm really upset about this because I have a good job, and I have the sheriff come.
I heard that you have a good job.
Okay.
You're 33 years old. He's
right.
20.
No, Your Honor, he told me.
Just a second. But you're 33. He's 20.
Your Honor, I was led to believe that he was 22.
22? Okay.
What does the age matter? I was stuck in a situation.
Let's go what happened to 822.
Okay. Well, as I turned around, there's Diane right in my face. And she just says, what the, excuse my language, but she was like, what the, whatever. And I'm like, you know, I don't want any problems with you. I had my beer bottle. I had just a little bit of beer in it. I had it in my hand. And I have a scar, permanent scar, on my arm where she grabbed me, pulled me forward, and goes to hit me with the beer bottle over my head. And in the police report, It doesn't even state that I had also blood and a welt on my head.
It doesn't say that, madam.
Exactly.
It does, no, listen to me. It doesn't say that. If the police who took this report were very clear, Miss Alvarado, they observed, according to them, a large welt on your hand.
Exactly.
If you had had blood in your scalp and a large welt in your scalp that you pointed out to them, they would have...
I did.
Why don't you let me finish?
Okay, I'm sorry, but...
They would have included that in the police report.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When did you find out he was 20 years old?
Today.
So now you know. You know that he's a baby and you're not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 22-year-old waitress Diane Groh is suing 33-year-old human resource manager Cecilia Alvarado for knocking out her teeth with a beer bottle.
So let's continue.
I stepped back, and it was just self-defense. After I had my hand like this, and her beer bottle hit my hand, I was trying to protect myself. And from just a reaction of, you know, someone attacking you, what are you supposed to do? And I was scared. I just closed my eyes and went like that. I didn't even realize I had hit her that hard, Your Honor. I would never have struck her. I felt bad after the incident. I was crying. Yes, I was hysterical because I was having a good time on a Monday night with my friends. She approached me, Your Honor. This isn't the first time she's, you know, antagonized me. Okay, and those harassment calls, they've harassed me, and they even threatened me as I was leaving, and my witness was with me in the car, and I was holding onto my head because I was crying, shaking. Diane, Ryan, and their friend Jimmy were threatening me, saying, watch your back, look out for yourself.
Were you a witness to the event, a witness to the actual event?
Yes, I was.
Step up. Tell me your name.
My name's Tanya.
Tell me what you observed on the evening of the 22nd of August.
Well, I told Cecilia, you know, for her to go ahead and get some beers because she was going downstairs. So then I went downstairs after she did, and then I'm
For
like,
what?
to go see where she was. She was speaking with Diane, when all of a sudden I just see Diane's arm just strike right down, right on her head, and then I saw her hit her, and I didn't know if it was with a beer bottle or not. I just saw her strike her, and then after that, I just ran towards her, and then, you know, the bouncers and everybody was trying to tear them apart, and then that was it.
You went down to get more beers, right?
I went to go to the restroom also.
Okay, but you already had a beer in your hand. You told me you had a beer in your hand, didn't you?
It was almost empty.
Why don't you let me finish my...
I'm sorry.
Okay. You already said that you had a beer and that there was some left in it. Is that correct?
There was some left in it, yes.
Right. What time had you arrived at this bowling alley / pool hall?
We went to eat there first. It was around 7-ish, because we were there eating, and then we went upstairs to shoot pool.
When you were eating, did you have anything of an alcoholic nature to drink?
I had, well, we had a pitcher.
Yeah.
That was it. And
A
that
what?
was a pitcher
A
of
beer?
light beer. Yeah,
While you were having dinner?
with food, right.
While you were having dinner. And then you went upstairs to shoot pool?
Right.
And how much did you have to drink when you went upstairs?
It was probably about one beer.
Maybe
we
two?
No, it was just about one beer because we were going downstairs to get more.
All right, now let's get back to you, Miss Bro.
Okay. First of all, she said that Ryan has a cell phone. He's never had a cell phone since we've been together. The concession stand is in the bowling alley, and she says she approached me at the concession stand.
Well, you have a couple of things to explain to me, madam.
Excuse
Okay.
me.
Okay? You confronted her, and I'm not excusing if what you allege happened the way you alleged it to happen. I'm not excusing that. But you confronted her twice. Not once, but twice. You sought her out. Initially, you told me you went up to her, got in her face, told her to leave you all alone, and then you followed her again.
I didn't.
Yes, you did. You followed her again because you saw her talking to somebody at a table where you were going to be seated. According to you, this was somebody that you had had bad interaction with before. So both of those things weren't too smart. I will also tell you that the police officer, I'm going to get to her in a second, the police officer observed a fresh bruise on her hand. How do you think she got that? A large welt. How do you think she got that?
Maybe from pushing me, or, you know, when she fell back, or, you know, I pushed her back. Maybe her hand hit the table when she fell back. I don't know how she got a welt on her hand, but I didn't even have a beer. That's why Ryan was at the bar.
Just a second. So clearly there was a physical altercation between the two of you before anything happened with bottles, according to you. Is that right?
When we were at the table.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So there was a physical altercation. That must have been a pretty hard shove.
She hit me first. Was I not supposed to defend myself?
Where did she hit you first?
She pushed me in my chest, and I
That's a
pushed her
push.
back.
No, okay, that's a
and-
push.
Okay.
That's not a hit.
Well,
How did she get the welt on her hand?
I'm really not sure how she got the welt on her hand.
You certainly confronted her on both occasions, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Not smart. Now, my next question to you, Miss Alvarado, is this incident is over and you're hysterical. You're all upset, right?
Right.
So what's the first thing that you do? You go to your phone and you call him.
No, I didn't.
Oh, yes, you
No,
did.
I didn't, ma'am.
Oh, well, according to the police, you did.
They threatened me as I was leaving, and
They may have threatened you. The police say that they listened to the message over the phone
okay.
and heard you say, Ryan, this is Cece. Remember that?
Yeah, I guess.
Why don't you tell her what we did a month ago? Does that sound familiar? My question to you is, after you're so upset and distraught, why do you continue with this by picking up the phone and calling him?
Because I had, Your Honor, this has been going on for like 2 months. He is.
When did you find out he was 20 years old?
Ma'am.
When did you find out he was 20 years old?
Today.
So before today, you thought he was 22?
That is what he told me.
Okay, so before today, you thought he was 22. And he's got a 20-year-old girlfriend.
Well, I
And
thought-
you're 33 years
I thought
old.
she was
Shh,
23.
Pay attention. So now you know. You know that he's a baby and you're not. So this terrible thing happened at the bar. Why are you continuing it by calling him on the phone?
I didn't continue calling him on the phone after this incident
4 times.
Are you telling me that this phone call the
But I
police...
was-
Shh. Are you telling me the police are making up this phone
No,
call
I'm
that they
not.
heard?
I'm not.
So you did call him.
But they called me at work also to harass me, and I have
I'm not
proof
talking
of
about
that.
at work. I'm talking about immediately after this incident on the 22nd. You got home and you called him.
I called him, but I didn't call him 4 times.
I didn't say 4 times. Did I
Okay,
say 4
well,
times? They said 4
that's
times. I
what
said
I'm
once.
thinking.
Pay careful attention.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She knew I was 20.
She thought you were 22. To me, there's
Okay.
no difference. You're a baby when you're 20 if you're a boy, and you're a baby when you're 22 if you're a boy. And sometimes when you're 52 if you're a boy.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Diane Bro says her front teeth were knocked out during a fight with Cecilia Alvarado. The women say the fight was over a man.
Why did you call him one time when you got home?
Because I was angry. I was really upset about this whole situation.
Well, right now, you're in a situation where
Exactly.
you caused her substantially more injury than she caused you.
And I was sorry.
You are at the
I'm
police,
sorry
so
for
you
it.
didn't call up and say, I'm sorry. You called up and said, hey, why don't you tell her what we did a month ago and all the other stuff?
Because, Your Honor, I was upset about it because if it wasn't for him leading me on and telling me that their relationship was nothing, then I wouldn't have gone after him. I wouldn't have talked to him.
Let me see the dental reports.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
I've met Cecilia before, like probably a month before Diane became my girlfriend. And, you know, the whole time, you know, she knew I was 20. All my friends know I'm 20. She
Don't tell me
knew-
what she knows.
Okay.
Did you?
And
She thought you were 22. To me, there's
Okay.
no difference. You're a baby when you're 20 if you're a boy. You're a baby when you're 22 if you're a boy. And sometimes when you're 52
She called
if
me
you're a boy.
nonstop. She called me at my place of employment. They told me at work that if she continues on calling, they're going to write me up because she called me nonstop.
She's a little fanatic.
Yeah, and she called my house nonstop, paged me nonstop.
Ryan, pay careful attention. She may be a little bit of a nut.
Yes.
We all are.
And I don't know, and I'm not interested in knowing what happened a month before.
Okay.
You know, and she knows. Maybe your girlfriend doesn't know, but you know, and she knows. She should have been smart enough when she figured out how old you were and that you're a baby to back off and find somebody that's more age appropriate. Because there is no difference between 20 and 22. You got to find somebody who's 35 because this is not an appropriate match for you. A 20-year-old doesn't lead on a 33-year-old if they have any brains.
And me and Diane have also told her, you know, together that we don't want nothing to do with her if she's going to continue on like this. You know, me and Diane sat there and told her to leave us alone.
Try Diane and I.
Okay, Diane and I.
I just had to do that. Just,
sorry.
You understand?
Your Honor.
I understand.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You're supposed to be a mature adult. You're 33 years old.
Your Honor, she hit me over the head. What was I supposed to do?
I don't believe she, listen to me. I don't believe she hit you over the head.
Yes, she...
No, listen to me. I believe she pushed you. I believe you pushed her. I
How
believe
did-
you shoved her. I believe all of those things, but I do not believe that she hit you over the head with a beer bottle and that you had blood in a bump, because if you did, the police would have memorialized that in a very, I'm speaking, don't look pained to me, in a very detailed police report. I believe that. Now, I don't believe that you are blameless. I believe that you were involved with this incident and that you should not have confronted her. Your actual out-of-pocket expenses are $41.82.
I did miss 4 days of work.
Listen to me.
Okay.
You have to find that you are somewhat responsible for what happened. Because if you had stayed away from her, it wouldn't have happened. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
He's a big boy. If he wants to tell her to stay out of his life, he can do that. If he wanted to be stupid enough a month ago to do whatever he did a month ago that he hasn't shared with you, right? That's something that he's going to have to deal with if he acted like a fool. But you didn't have to go to her twice, especially since she had had a lot to drink that night. She got there at 7 o'clock. They had a couple of pitchers of beer, not just one.
No,
they
no.
drank. I'm speaking. I'm not stupid. I've lived a long time. I've lived longer than 33 years. Okay? You got there at 7, and this was 12 o'clock at night. You already had one beer bottle in your hand, right? You were down to get another one, and I assure you that that was not the first one that you consumed while you were upstairs playing pool. And you also consumed beer while you were having dinner, according to you, one pitcher. In any event, you're going to pay for her dental work. She's going to pay for her pain and suffering and for her missed work. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,182. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
This is case number 267 on the calendar in the matter of Campbell versus Fisher. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Miss Campbell, you live with the defendant, Mrs. Fisher's father.
Correct.
And you've been together for how long?
Approximately 6 years.
And sometime the early part of this year, you and your boyfriend were going on vacation or holiday, and she was going to stay home and take care of not only the home, but a whole bunch of animals that you have.
Correct.
You were gone for several weeks.
Correct.
She did not do what she was supposed to do. She left the house unattended, left the animals unattended, as a result of which the house was pretty much destroyed. That's what you're suing for.
Correct.
You were subsequently married.
Yes.
This is your husband.
Yes.
You have a cross-complaint, and your cross-complaint is for some sort of harassment. Okay. When did Mrs. Fisher move in with you?
Approximately 3 years ago.
Is that right?
Yes.
And how old were you when you moved in?
I was about 16.
Where had you lived before?
In Arkansas with my grandfather.
So you moved back and lived with your dad and his girlfriend?
Yes.
And how long did you plan on being away?
4 weeks. Items I sell, and I'm a vendor at craft fairs and craft shows.
Did you have an arrangement with her with regard to caring for the animals when you were away?
Yes, I did.
What did you say to her and what did she say to you?
The conversation was between her and her boyfriend, Michael Fisher, at the time. They agreed to take care of the animals. He agreed to take her to and from work and to and from school because she was still in high school. They assured me that everything would be fine as it had been before.
And you had no concerns?
No.
When did you have an inkling that something wasn't right?
We couldn't reach them for several weeks. I mean, several weeks. Come 5 weeks later, she called us when we were on location at a market and informed us that she had moved out sometime right after we had left to go out of town.
Had you had any indication that she was moving out?
No, Your Honor.
What kind of animals do you have?
I raise hybrid wolves. I have 2 hybrid wolves at this time, 2 cats, and a parrot.
So 5 animals altogether?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
When did you know that something was wrong with the animals? Did she tell you she was taking care of the animals?
She was pretty evasive to me, and I was very, very, very upset. We then called, myself and her father called John McNeely, who is a close friend of us, our family, to go and check on the animals and on my home. He then went over immediately and informed us that we needed to get home immediately, that the animals were not in good shape at all, and the house was totally trashed.
Did you come right home?
It took us 2 days. We're in the midst of having engine problems with our motorhome. Our motorhome is still in Georgia at this time because we had to drop everything, buy another vehicle, and come straight home. We were home within a day and a half.
What did you find when you got home?
My house was totally trashed, birdseed everywhere. Cat urine and feces had not been picked up or cleaned up all through the home. The backyard was totally trashed from where the animals had tried to get in the home because my dogs have never been outside all night, never. And they had been left outside for long, long periods of time. The inside of the house was, I mean, my furniture was broken. There was a multitude of things missing. My walls were dented and scratched. I couldn't, it was totally unbelievable.
Did you take any photographs?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Can I see them?
Dogs look like now. And I understand that they're not very good pictures. I'm an amateur at that. It was just something I thought I needed to do.
When you came home, was the house locked up?
Yes, it was.
What items did you find missing?
The dressers, there was 3 dressers that were in Leslie's room. They were missing. They were returned, and that was the condition they were turned in the photos. There was $250.
Who returned them?
They did, on police order.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Why did you take the dressers?
They were mine.
But the police told you to return them?
Yes.
What else was missing?
$250 cash out of my safe deposit box, along with her Social Security card, her prescription for her contacts and glasses, her title to her car.
That was all in your safe deposit box?
Yes, Your Honor. Jewelry, clothing, bedding, food.
All right, let's talk about the safety deposit box. You went into the safety deposit box to get
I
your
went in and
stuff
got my stuff when they asked me to get the papers for their motorhome. That's the only time I went into it. Title to my car was in a manila envelope, sort of like this, that was in my room. It was never in their box.
Social Security card?
It was, yes.
Where was that?
It was in their box.
Did you take it?
Yes. Mike was there, and so was John.
Who's Mike?
My husband.
Who's John?
My witness.
Step up, please. John, what's your last name?
McNeely.
Tell me about the circumstances surrounding you going into the safety deposit
Rose and Leon had called me when their motorhome broke down and asked me to go over and help Leslie and Michael try to find the warranty papers for the engine.
You actually went into the safety deposit box with them?
No, I was looking through the papers that Leslie had already pulled out, had them on the counter, seeing what she had, making sure that they were the right papers, and going through, getting phone numbers and stuff to call Rose and Leon with to give them for the warranty for the motor.
Were you still living in the house at the time that you went through the safety deposit box?
Yes, I was.
When did you leave?
I completely moved out the day, what was it, the day before they came home? Because we
But
had
you weren't
3
staying
cats.
in the house.
We had 3 cats, and when I finally completely moved all my stuff out, I took my
Mrs.
cat
Fisher,
and bought stuff.
we're not going to play games with each other. I'm not talking about completely moving out. When did you cease living there on a full-time basis?
What day was that?
Don't ask him. How much after they left
think
did
it
you
was probably
start
a
living with your now husband?
I think it was probably a week.
And you had some stuff that you left there, so you would go back periodically.
No, I would take care of the animals too.
Periodically?
No, every day.
Okay. Well, the devastation that I saw, for instance, around the parrot's cage, let's talk about that, and the kitty litter boxes, that's more than a day's worth of cleanup.
What do you... To clean the litter boxes, you did that once a week. She told me you have to do it once a week. Clean 2 litter boxes. It was in my room.
He wasn't living there in the house with
No,
you?
Your Honor.
Okay, so
no.
your arrangement
He was not
with
allowed
him.
to be in the home, and only at certain times because I was trying to keep Leslie from doing something that she might be sorry for. He's 30 years old, Your Honor.
He's 29.
She was 18 at the time, Your Honor. I feel that this is just a stab in my back. I brought a child up, tried to give her a good home. I did everything for you,
Listen. We don't do that here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If I knew all this was going to happen, I would have stayed.
Stayed where?
Arkansas.
Well, if you stayed in Arkansas, you wouldn't have met your husband.
That's better than all the hell they put me through.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rose Campbell says Leslie Fisher was left to watch her home while she was on vacation. Rose says Leslie abandoned her home and her animals. Leslie and her husband are countersuing for harassment and defamation of character.
Miss Fisher, can you tell me why you chose to wait until after they left?
Because I know they'd put me...
to move out. Why?
Because I know they'd do this to me. They wouldn't let me move out because I tried to move out more than once.
So it was your plan to move out. Is that right?
Yes, and they knew it.
No, don't tell me that they knew it. They wouldn't have known that you were going to move out.
They didn't know the exact.
And leave all their animals unattended. So this was your plan. And this was your plan with your husband?
Yes.
And when did you formulate this plan?
We talked about it for a few weeks.
Before they left?
Yeah.
So you weren't honest with Miss Campbell or your father when you said that you would be living in the house all the time and taking care of the animals.
They didn't ask me to live in the house. It was just sort of like telling me to do everything.
But you had been living in the house full time and taking care of the pets when they went on this trip.
Because I had to. They didn't ask me. We didn't, you know, write down papers saying that they would pay me or we had an agreement or anything.
Miss Fisher, let me ask you this question. You moved in when you were 16?
Yes.
Were you working?
Not when I was 16, no.
Were you working when you were 17?
Yes.
Full-time or part-time?
Part-time, because I had to go to school full-time.
You lived in the house. They paid all the expenses, right? And you had certain chores to do.
Yes.
Does that sound unreasonable to you?
Not then.
Well, then you turned 18. When did you meet him?
I knew him when I first moved up to Ohio.
When you were 16?
Yes.
And how old was he?
He was 26.
Okay. Mr. Fisher, what kind of work do you do, sir?
Body man, fix cars. Frame.
Is that your own business?
No.
You work for somebody else?
Yes, I do.
You're working on the books, of course.
I should be.
But you're not.
He better be paying me on the books.
Well, you would know, Mr. Fisher, whether you're being paid on the books. Either you get a check that says this is how much they take out for taxes and Social Security, or they don't take out for taxes and Social Security. So you paid on the books or off the books?
The boss told me he was going to be paying me on the books. He should be paying me on the books. If he is or isn't, I don't know. I do not want to take a check from the man because the checks will bounce.
So you paid in cash?
I told him to give me $400 cash and take care of the taxes for it.
Miss Fisher, there's some indication in these papers that you were charged with animal cruelty or animal abandonment. Is that right?
Yes. I've got a misdemeanor for it, yes.
So you were convicted?
Well, it was the easiest way to get out of the court case, yeah.
So you were convicted?
Yes.
And you pled guilty?
No contest. Same as guilty, yes.
So that there really is no issue as to whether you abandoned these animals, because the burden of proof here is much less than in a criminal proceeding. The only issue is one of damages. Now, what were the damages to your animal?
Well over $4,000, Your Honor, but I'm not claiming that because I feel that some of it was done previous to her doing what she did to me. I'm claiming $1,800 to repair the couch, to change the door locks because they did get keys made for my doors, and my doors, cleaning the walls, repairing the walls, the carpeting, the vet bill.
How much was the vet bill?
The vet bill was over $380.
All right, tell me about your counterclaim.
They harassed us. She harassed us on the phone.
Well, tell me about it.
Well, we've got the tape right here if you'd like to listen to it.
Leslie, this is Rosie. I just wanted you to know that if I don't have you face-to-face and you're not woman enough to come and talk to me about what has gone on, not only am I going to prosecute you, but I'm also going and headed to the school with 2 documents. One to Mr. to inform him that you aren't living in the Menor School District anymore, and you'll have to go to night school to finish. And I think Mikey is going to have some problems also. The only way that we can remedy this, Leslie, one is I don't want you to come back. You are are not welcome in my house after you come here once. Just to tell me where my stuff is, why you left it, why you did what you did to these animals. That's all I have to say to you. Not only have you broken my heart, you also have broken all of my trust. Obviously, you have no one now. You have not me, not my family. My daughter's on her way over here to calm me down. You don't have anybody in your family. You have your sister whom you are just like. Only thing is, she was with him a little longer than 3 months. Also, you have nobody. You have nobody now. Well, kid, you got a long and hard road to work. I hope you make it.
Have anything else you want me to listen to?
We have a videotape of our wedding right after. There were still people there from the ceremony, and my dad, and we know John was there, but we're not sure if Rosie was in the van. They came and harassed us.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's into the vending business. Basically, I consider a carny, and she...
I beg your pardon.
It's my own personal opinion, so please.
Listen, your judgment's so lousy so far, I'm not interested in your opinion.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rose Campbell says Leslie Fisher owes her for a trashed home and neglecting her animals.
The tape is not harassment, madam.
She almost got me kicked out of school.
Let me tell you what she's saying to you. She's saying you lived in her home, she trusted you, and you violated their trust. It's clear to me that you violated their trust because you snuck around, waited until, with a plot, waited until they left. And then as soon as they left, you moved out. And you may have come back every few days to take care of the animals, to feed them, give them water, do whatever, but that's not what was anticipated. What was anticipated is that you would be living there. There's a difference between living there and going to feed the cat every couple of days. Miss Fisher, you and I know that. And I'm telling you something. That's not harassment on that tape. What that is hurt. Because what she really said was, I'm going to do all these things to you, none of which are illegal. But all I want you to do is come here and explain to me why you did this to me, why you did it the way you did it. Let me ask you this question, sir.
Huh.
You're older.
Yes.
You're supposed to be more responsible.
Yes.
Why did you encourage Miss Fisher to leave the house without letting them know?
I did not.
You didn't?
No, I told her straight out, point blank,
yes,
it's her choice. If she wants to move out, I ain't going to stop her. I ain't going to talk her into it. I ain't going to talk her out of it. It's her choice.
Just a second. Rose and Leon were going to be away for 2 months.
We were there every single day. We have a picture of her mailbox if you would like to take a look-see at it. She's got a small mailbox. She's into the vending business. Basically, I consider a carny. And she...
I beg your pardon.
Miss Campbell, Miss Campbell.
I personally believe...
Miss Campbell, look at me. Please don't talk to him. Don't talk to him.
I'm a nurse, in-home nurse.
It's my own personal opinion, so please...
Well, I'm not interested. You listen, your judgment's so lousy so far, I'm not interested in your opinion. Say no more. Just tell me what happened at the wedding, please, so I can
Leon and John showed up for sure.
I'm not interested in anybody else other than Miss Campbell.
Well, they showed up in Rose Campbell's van. I have no idea if Rose was actually in the van or not. It's hard to tell. Van has tinted windows.
So?
I have no idea if she was...
Oh, I have no idea either.
I figured birds of a feather flock together. I figured Leon was probably in the van with Rosie and John.
How
all three
disrespectful. Just a second. Miss Campbell, please, I told you, I don't want to say it again. I don't want you to speak to him. Miss Fisher, have you spoken to your father since all of this happened?
No.
And of course you haven't spoken to Miss Campbell.
That's right.
Are you a little sorry it happened?
If I knew all this was going to happen, I would have stayed.
Stayed where?
Arkansas.
Well, if you stayed in Arkansas, you wouldn't have met your husband.
That's better than all the hell they put me through.
Wouldn't have met Mike if you stayed in Arkansas. You may have good reason to cry.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Let's take care of the counterclaim first. The counterclaim is nonsense. And there is absolutely no evidence that she was involved in any harassment at your wedding, other than the fact that your husband thinks that birds of a feather flock together. Maybe he's right. There is no question that since Mrs. Fisher has been found guilty of abuse of animals, so there's no question that she did it. There is also no question that you cannot prove that they actually stole money out of your
Correct,
safety
Your Honor.
deposit box. But I really believe that since you filed your lawsuit against both,
Yes, Your Honor.
and you indicated to me that both of them were there when you had this conversation,
Correct,
is that
Your
right?
Honor.
Yes.
He had a certain responsibility. He accepted that responsibility. He was also part of the plan, and he was the older member that was part of the plan, that they were certainly not going to fulfill this agreement, at least the way you anticipated it would be
Correct.
fulfilled. In any event, I am awarding you $1,000 judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you.
Parties are excused.
Clean up
You may
the mess.
step out.
হ্যালো ফ্রেন্ডসরা, সবাই কেমন আছো? আশা করি সবাই ভালো আছো। আজকে তোমাদের সামনে ছবিটি রং করে দেখাবো। ভিডিওটি না টেনে সম্পূর্ণ দেখবে। আমাদের ছবিটি রং করা সম্পূর্ণ হলো।